Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Fantasy. Pick up attributes like crazy. Chapter 41. Pluto was furious and immediately came towards Tang Lian. Both at the peak of the Shantian realm, Pluto and Yu Ji fought against Tang Lian and Lei Wuji, and they were inseparable. Xiao Jian narrowed his eyes slightly. These people hide really well. Haven't you come out yet? The two groups fought for a long time, but neither of them used their true strength. After all, there are so many people staring at the golden coffin now, and they are not sure to stop so many people. The reason why Pluto took action first was because he heard that the golden coffin contained the truth he wanted to find. The truth behind the Wangyi Tower incident. If he doesn't take action, he will have no chance when the master hidden behind appears. Thinking of this, Pluto struck harder. The majestic internal force stirred up the snowflakes in the beauty village. Ring ring ring. A crisp ringing sound rang. Wanwan's figure appeared in front of everyone. Seeing that no one in the village took action, Wanwan laughed. Why is no one interested in the golden coffin? That little girl took it away. While Tang Lian and others were restraining each other, Wanwan headed directly towards the golden coffin. Stop, don't move, that's mine. You actually took advantage of it. Which, if you dare to touch us, we are rude. Everyone's minds were suddenly aroused by Wanwan, and they all rushed towards the golden coffin. But Wanwan turned around and retreated before everyone rushed to the golden coffin. Only the people huddled together were left. Looking at the mess below, Xiao Jian shook his head helplessly. This witch is worthy of her name. Provoking everyone to fight, but she herself retreated. But the people below have already taken over and can't stop. I can only grit my teeth and continue fighting. Ding. Congratulations to the host for picking up the fragments of the red heart slash and automatically comprehending the red heart slash. Ding. Congratulations to the host for picking up the Fuhu fist fragments and automatically comprehending the Fuhu fist. Ding. Congratulations to the host for picking up the internal energy fragments, the internal energy value is +15. Ding. Congratulations to the host for picking up the fragments of the monument breaking hand and automatically understanding the monument breaking hand. Ding. Congratulations to the host for picking up the fragment of the monument breaking hand, the martial arts experience value +10. Xiao Jian raised the corners of his mouth slightly. Has it started yet? As long as the battle starts, it won't end that easily. Unless someone can suppress them all with absolute strength. Otherwise, you can only wait until they can't fight anymore. Wanwan, you're in trouble again. Shi Feizan was speechless as she looked at the scene below. The two of them traveled from Daming to Bili. But Wanwan caused such a big trouble after not paying attention for a while. Master Feizan, if you can, go and stop them. Wanwan looked at her masterpiece with excitement. What's the point of having a bunch of people around you and not fighting? Who doesn't know that their target is this golden coffin? Everyone is trying to get a bargain, how can such a good thing happen? Wanwan turned her eyes and stared at the group of people hiding in secret. At this time, Wanwan was already at her innate peak. He can naturally sense the hidden innate peak realms nearby. He turned around and headed in their direction. In the crowd, Murong Fu's eyebrows jumped. Suddenly I felt like I was being watched. Shouldn't it? Murong Fu was confused. He came in disguise. And this place is far north. No one should know him. Suddenly, a red figure quickly attacked him from the corner of his eye. It looked like he was preparing to attack him. Witch Wanwan. When he saw what was coming, Murong Fu almost screamed. The witch Wanwan actually came too. When he was in Fuzhou, he had experienced Wanwan's evil nature. Her demonic voice caused many people in the world to suffer great losses. What does it mean to come at him now? Murong Fu did not dare to be careless. With a horizontal stroke of the long sword in his hand, Wang Yuyan and the four generals next to him were pushed away. He stepped forward and stood in front of Wanwan. Ha 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 ha, this young master has such a high level of cultivation. Why don't you just stay aside and do nothing? Listening to Wanwan's teasing tone, Murong Fu almost vomited blood. If you go out to fight now, you will become cannon fodder. Make wedding clothes for the people behind. With Wanwan's confusion, everyone focused on Murong Fu. Asshole. The sword in Murong Fu's hand went straight towards Wanwan. Now that she has been exposed, naturally she cannot let this witch go. Kekekek. You chase slowly. Wanwan had no intention of doing anything with him. After being exposed, Marong Fu turned around and headed in the next direction. Yu Buchan's heart skipped a beat when he saw Wanwan's figure coming towards him. He quickly lowered his head and prayed that the witch was not looking for him. Hey, isn't this the leader of the Washan sect, Yu Bukchun? Why are you here in Bili? Yu Bukchun gritted his teeth. He looked at Wanwan with murderous intent. He didn't even see the inner demon. As a result, Wanwan called her out. In this case, is there any need to hide? You wanna die? Yu Buchan's figure flashed and appeared directly in front of Wanwan, startling her. The movement techniques contained in the evil repelling sword manual are inherently very fast. Coupled with Yu Buchan's master-level strength, in terms of speed, Wanwan cannot compare at all. Aha! Yu Buchan's sword went straight towards the door in front of Wanwan. The sharp sword energy chilled her heart. Have you entered the Grandmaster realm? Wanwan looked in disbelief. When he was in Fuzhou, Yu Buchan's strength was inconspicuous among the geniuses. Unexpectedly, after not seeing him for a while, this person actually stepped into the Master realm. Sensing something bad, Wanwan immediately turned around and ran away. Although she was sure to save her life from Yu Buchan's sword. However, that would require her to show off her ability to keep things under control. She wouldn't use her special skills unless absolutely necessary. Haha, you must be punished for setting fires everywhere. Marong Fu laughed loudly behind Wanwan. After being tricked by Wanwan, he couldn't help laughing when he saw Wanwan being chased by Yu Bukchun. Follow Yu Bukchun in pursuit. Wanwan rolled her eyes and immediately ran towards the location of the innate peak masters she sensed. Everyone in the venue was immediately so angry at Wanwan's saucy move that they cursed their mothers. You witch, don't come here. You guys are beating you, why are you running to me? You fool, you don't have martial ethics. Master Yu, we are both on the right path, so please take your time with your actions. Various voices sounded, and the beauty village was in a commotion. Xiao Jian, who was sitting upstairs, was stunned. The corners of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. The witch is indeed a witch, she really can't be offended. Unexpectedly, it was the unexpected presence of Wanwan that started the fight. Xiao Jian originally thought that the battle would be started by Tian Weixian and Beifaxian. After all, that golden coffin contained their young master from heaven beyond heaven. The most anxious person should be the genius. Unexpectedly, Wanwan muddied the water. But it doesn't matter who starts the battle, after all, he is definitely the final winner. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the fragments of the Zixia magic skill and automatically comprehending the Zixia magic skill. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the star-shifting fragment. The martial arts experience value will be +10. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the fragments of the heavenly demon's dharma and automatically comprehending the heavenly demon's dharma. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the fragments of the heavenly demon magic. The martial arts experience value will be +10. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the fragments of the Wuji sword technique and automatically comprehending the Wuji sword technique. Xiao Jian watched coldly as everyone was fighting downstairs. Although everyone seemed to be fighting fiercely, they did not see what was in the golden coffin after all. Therefore, everyone did not show their full strength. When the golden coffin is opened, that's when everyone fights to snatch it. Shi Feishuan, why don't you come and help me quickly? Wanwan was out of breath being chased by everyone. He shouted. Just for a moment, there were already about 10 people following her. However, there is only one person in the Grandmaster realm, Yu Bukchun. The rest of the people stood aside silently, waiting for the opportunity to take action. The master's concubine was speechless. However, one cannot really watch Wanwan fall into danger and remain indifferent. From the Tang dynasty to the Ming dynasty, and then to the Bili dynasty, the two often quarreled and even fought. But the friendship between the two became deeper and deeper. She couldn't do it even if she watched Wanwan being bullied. Then he jumped up to help Wanwan block some people. I knew you wouldn't let anything happen to me. Wanwan chuckled. Shi Feishuan couldn't help but roll her eyes. Edge. The three Fengyan brothers frowned. The chaos in the field is really annoying. The highest outcome is no more than the innate peak. In their eyes, it is like a child fighting. Bu Jingyun snorted coldly. he immediately jumped down from the building. The aura of the Grandmaster realm is released with all its strength. The terrifying pressure caused everyone present to stagnate. Bu Jingyan. It's Bu Jingyan of the World Association. It is said that the three brothers have already entered the Grandmaster realm. I didn't expect it to be true. How can we fight like this? The master level has already appeared. Where is Xiao Jian from Jin Yiwei? He is the only one who can subdue Bu Jingyan, right? Hearing someone mention Xiao Jian's name, Bu Jingyan's face darkened. The two people upstairs who were preparing to watch Bu Jingyan show off his talents couldn't help but change their expressions. The three of them are also absolute leaders among the younger generation. Entering the Grandmaster realm at the same time would have been a great thing. Let the power of Tianxiahui increase greatly. It's just that all three of them were defeated by Xiao Jian, making this all a joke. In addition to finding clues about the clay bodhisattva, their purpose for this trip may also be to make themselves famous. Yu Bukchun looked at Bu Jingyan's eyes, and his murderous intent surged. Back then, he actually lost to Bu Jingyan, and today he might be able to take revenge. Bu Jingyan sensed Yu Bukchun's murderous intention. Turning to look at him. If my defeated general dares to unleash his murderous intent on me again, I will kill you today. Bu Jingyan was a little angry when someone mentioned his defeat at the hands of Xiao Jian. Unexpectedly, Yu Bukchun dared to unleash his murderous intent on him. When anger rises, he will naturally not speak politely. You are so majestic, I want to see if you can kill me. Yu Bukchun walked towards Jingyan step by step. At the same time, he slowly released his momentum, causing everyone around him to exclaim. Oh my god, Washan sect's head Yu has actually entered the Grandmaster realm. Now we have something good to watch, the battle between two Grandmasters. This is a rare sight in many years. Headmaster Yu was defeated by Bu Jingyan when he was in the Shantian realm. Can he defeat Bu Jingyan in the Grandmaster realm? Looking at Master Yu's momentum, the outcome of this battle is unpredictable. Everyone felt the almost equal momentum between the two and couldn't help shouting. Even those who were fighting couldn't help but stop when they felt the rising momentum of the two masters. A huge circular venue was set aside for the two of them. He stood silently and watched the excitement. The Grand Masters have already appeared, and there is no need for them to continue fighting for those beings in the innate realm. Unless there is a reason to do it. Murong Fu looked at Yu Bukchun with red eyes. Even this guy Yu Bukchun has already entered the innate realm, but he hasn't even touched the threshold. The blow to him was not ordinary. Wang Yuyan at the side saw Murong Fu's unwilling expression. Carefully comforted. Cousin, don't worry, Master Yu is much older than you. By the time you are as old as him, you may have already entered the realm of a great master. Murong Fu heard this and sneered. Do you think I can only be like him and spend time pushing my cultivation level up? Wang Yuyan was choked immediately. Murong Fu's eyes flashed with madness and he muttered to himself. My goal is to become a land god. Only becoming a land god is my goal. Hearing this, Wang Yuyan looked at Murong Fu dumbfounded. At this time, she felt that she had never really understood Murong Fu. In the land of immortals on land, how many people are there in the entire Ming dynasty? How many people are there in the whole world? Added together they are not even worth the amount of one palm. And Murong Fu actually wanted to achieve the realm of land gods. Murong Fu didn't care about Wang Yuyan's thoughts, but quietly watched the battle between Yu Bukchun and Bu Jingyan. The two stood opposite each other. Yu Bukchun stared at Bu Jingyan with murderous intent. The sword in his hand groaned. The sharp sword energy filled the whole body. Upstairs, Xiao Jian looked at Yu Bukchun with a sneer. When Yu Bukchun silently memorized the sword manual to ward off evil spirits, he knew that such a day would come. Yu Bukchun wants to be the leader of the Five Mountains Alliance, and he will definitely not miss any opportunity to become stronger. Even if it means self-conception, he will not give up. The evil repelling sword manual, I want to see what kind of martial arts it is. Xiao Jian murmured to himself. Bu Jingyan felt Yu Bukchun's aura and frowned slightly. Yu Bukchun actually gave him a dangerous feeling. This seems absolutely impossible to him. Pretend to be a ghost. I want to see how you have improved. Bu Jingyan snorted coldly, and a water ball appeared out of thin air in his hand. The strong internal force made the onlookers around him exclaim. This is the cloud-paling palm of the Tianxiahui. This power should not be underestimated. Why didn't Master Yu take action? Are you scared? Everyone looked at the indifferent Yu Bukchun across from them, a little confused. But Bu Jingyan doesn't care about this. The water ball in his hand quickly moved towards Yu Bukchun, driven by his internal force. Boom! The air was blasted with a loud bang. Everyone present could not help but cover their ears. After the loud noise passed, everyone realized that Yu Buchan's figure had disappeared. Where is Master Yu? No way. Could it be that he was killed instantly by one move? Bu Jingyan's face darkened. He clearly felt that the move just now did not hit Yu Buchan's body. In other words, at that critical moment, Yu Bukchun escaped. Let him hit the air with one move. Suddenly, Bu Jingyan turned around. He saw Yu Bukhan's figure standing 3 feet behind him. The long sword in his hand stabbed towards his neck at a strange angle. Bu Jingyan hurriedly turned around, his palms flying, forcing Yu Bukchun back. For a moment, everyone only saw the silhouettes of the two people as fast as phantoms. Especially Yu Bukhan's figure, strange and fast. Yi Jingyan's cloud-dispelling palm moves failed. Ha 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 ha, Bu Jingyan, is this your cloud-dispelling palm? I think it's better to call it split-the-sky palm. Yu Bukchun laughed while hiding. He wanted to vent all his anger from last time. Bu Jingyan was angered by Yu Bukchun, and his moves became even more fierce. The ground with a radius of dozens of meters was blasted into deep pits one after another. Xiaojian felt the vibration of the ground even upstairs. Is this the speed you can get after practicing the evil repelling sword manual? It's really extraordinary. Xiaojian murmured. This is just the Grandmaster realm, what about the Great Grandmaster realm? How strong does Dongfang Bubai have to be to practice the sunflower manual? Xiaojian's eyes became profound. It seems that he still has a long way to go. However, Xiaojian was not discouraged, but aroused his ambition. Yu Bukchun dodged Bu Jingyan's attack while mocking him, venting out his anger, making Bu Jingyan upset. Coward, if you have the ability, take my attack, are you only able to dodge? Bu Jingyan's eyes were full of murderous intent. I didn't expect that Yu Bukchun, who had broken through to the master realm, would be so difficult to deal with. It's just like a loach, slippery. Haha, since you want to experience my strength, then I will let you experience it. Yu Bukchun stopped his weird movements and stood calmly in front of Bu Jingyan. After the preliminary fight just now, he already knew that his strength was about the same as Bu Jingyan. But in terms of speed, he completely crushed Bu Jingyan. As long as you don't seek death, you don't have to worry about falling into Bu Jingyan's hands. Qin Shuang and Nifeng, who were hiding aside, looked solemn. Yu Bukhan's strength exceeded their expectations. Senior brother, do you know what movement skills the Washan sect is famous for? Nifeng turned to look at Qin Shuang and asked. Qin Shuang is in charge of the intelligence of Tianxiahui and has a good understanding of these Zhonghu affairs. If the Washan sect has any famous body and martial arts skills, Qin Shuang must know about it. Qin Shuang shook his head. The martial arts of the Washan sect are mediocre. At least in recent years. There is no particularly famous martial arts at all. So what kind of martial arts did Yu Bukchun use? Qin Shuang didn't quite understand. Looking outside, his brows furrowed. The corners of Yu Bukhan's lips raised slightly. How could he let go of this great opportunity to avenge his previous attack? Immediately he dodged and headed towards Bu Jingyan. The terrifying speed, coupled with the sharp sword energy of the master level, made Yi Jingyan panic for a moment. Although he was not injured, it looked like he was completely at a disadvantage and had no ability to fight back. How did Master Yu become so powerful? He was able to overpower Bu Jingyan of the Tianxiahui. It's been 3 days since we last seen each other, so we should look at each other with admiration. Was Bu Jingyan the one who suppressed Master Yu and beat him before? It seems that the older generation of people in the world should not be underestimated. I don't know when they suddenly broke out. Bu Jingyan is in trouble. Not necessarily. Don't forget, the 3 hall leaders of the Tianxiahui are all at the Grandmaster level. Yu Bukchun naturally heard everyone's comments. The attacks became even more ruthless. Under the rapid movement, the long sword in his hand was swung so fast that it was almost invisible. Qin Shuang and Ni Feng's faces were dark. If the fight continues like this, even if Bu Jingyan can barely hold on, in the eyes of outsiders, he has already lost. It was a big blow to Tianxiahui. The two looked at each other and jumped down one after another. Aha! It seems that Ni Feng and two others appeared, and Yu Bukchun escaped from the battlefield. He showed up and laughed. Do the three major hall masters of the Tianxiahui want to do something together? Then come. Yu Bukchun held a sword and looked arrogant. The long sword was slung behind his back, and he behaved lightly, as if he didn't take the three of them seriously. Humph, they don't need to take action, I am enough. Bu Jingyan swung his cloak behind his back and forced Qin Shuang and Qin Shuang to take a step back. He walked up to Yu Bukchun alone and wanted to fight him to the end. But Yu Bukchun put away his sword with a look of disdain. Master Bu, you are so powerful in numbers, I am ashamed of myself. Yu Bukchun knew that Qin Shuang and the two were present, so he would not gain anything if the fight continued. Just stop. Anyway, the anger that needs to be vented has been released, and the situation that needs to be found has been found. Bu Jingyan was choked by his words. He was so angry that he trembled all over. Junior brother, forget it, don't forget our goal. Qin Shuang patted Bu Jingyan on the shoulder and said to Yu Bukchun, you win today. In the future, my junior brother will come to ask for advice again. After saying that, he ignored Yu Bukchun and headed towards the golden coffin with his two junior brothers. The three brothers are all at the Grand Master level, and no one from any force in the Beauty Manor has such a lineup. The three of them walked towards the golden coffin step by step. Along the way, everyone made way for them. Don't dare to have any obstruction. After the three people passed by, everyone followed closely behind them. The masters hiding in the dark all set their sights on the golden coffin. Once they see what's inside, it's time for them to snatch it. Everyone held their breath and stared at Qin Shuang and the other three who took the lead. Stop. Tang Lian dodged and stopped in front of the three of them. Three of you, this is my matter in Shuiyu City and has nothing to do with your Tianxiahui. Since Shui Yucheng has accepted the task of escorting the golden coffin, there must not be any accidents. Qin Shuang said coldly, get out of the way. His tone was as cold as ice. It made everyone around him shiver. Beside him, Lei Wuji sneered. Haha, I didn't expect that the famous Tianxiahui would actually engage in robbery. Don't say that this golden coffin has anything to do with your world association. Lei Wuji, who first entered the world, was not afraid of heaven or earth. Even if he knew that the three people in front of him were stronger than himself, he didn't panic at all. The worst-case scenario is to take action. Qin Shuang's face was cold. Robbery of the golden coffin is not easy to do, but good or bad. To be honest, if the clay bodhisattva hadn't had a close relationship with Master Wangyu, he wouldn't have disturbed Master Wangyu's body. In addition, Shangba ordered them to bring back the demon guide. So even if he doesn't want to, he must do it. I'll say it again, get out of the way. Qin Shuang's face was unfriendly, and his fists were clenched. He really wanted to punch the face in front of him. Didn't he know what was going on? If they didn't take action, would the people behind them not take action? If the thing falls into his hands, at least the lives of those escorting the golden coffin will be safe. Lei Wuji pinched his neck, looking like he couldn't get enough of it. Xiao Jian's face turned dark when he was upstairs. Lei Wuji is Li Hanyi's biological brother, and Ling is Li Hanyi's apprentice. Even for the sake of Ling apprenticeship with Li Hanyi, Xiao Jian couldn't let anything happen to Lei Wuji. It was originally planned to develop silently behind the scenes, but it seems that we have to find another way. Xiao Jian glanced at his attribute panel. Name, Xiao Jian. Age, 17. Kung Fu, the first chapter of Divine Elephant's Prison suppressing power, 160 giant elephant particles. Martial arts, perfect Vajra palm, minor accomplishment of function legs. Minor accomplishment of cloud dispelling palm, minor accomplishment of star shifting. Tianshuang fist, minor acquisition of invincible overlord hand, minor acquisition of setting sun saint slash, minor acquisition of Arhat sword technique, minor acquisition of pulse cutting finger success, a small success in the red heart slash, a small success in the Fuhu Fist, a small success in the Monument Breaking Hand, a small success in the Zixia Magic Kung Fu, a small success in the Heavenly Demon Dafa, a small success in the Wuji Sword Technique. Martial Arts Experience Value, 2070. Internal Force Value, 4160. Realm, Peak of Innateness. Most of the people fighting just now were innate realm warriors, and the internal strength and experience points provided to him were not much at all. If you want to make a big breakthrough, you have to attract those peak innate and master level masters below. That's when he reaped the rewards. But Lei Wuji disrupted his plan. Just when Xiao Jian was about to take action, a soft sound came. Qin Shuang, your world club's hand is too long. Xiao Jian raised his eyebrows and slowly sat down again after standing up. Unexpectedly, Li Hanyi also entered the innate realm. With Li Hanyi here, there is no need for him to take action. But when Xiao Jian saw Li Hanyi holding Ling in one hand, his face turned completely dark. There are so many people in this place. A war is inevitable. Why bring Ling here at this time? And he is destined to make enemies with many people in the world. If the relationship between Ling and him is exposed, it will not be a good thing for Ling or him. Li Hanyi's arrival made Tang Lian and others relieved. They all took a step back and stood in front of the golden coffin. Qin Shuang raised his eyebrows. Smiling slightly, he said, I didn't expect that you would also enter the Grandmaster realm. Among the younger generation, except for Chao Feng, their three brothers are the fastest to become a master. And now there is another opponent of the same level. Li Hanyi brought Ling to Tang Lian and motioned for him to take care of her. Then he turned around and said, you three brothers are already grandmasters, it's not too late. The four of them looked at each other with fighting intent. The battle is about to begin. Li Hanyi faced three masters alone without any fear. Instead, a strong fighting spirit arose. Seeing this, the people around them retreated and vacated the place. You two take a rest first, and I'll fight her first. Qin Shuang said to the two of them. To get the golden coffin, you must first defeat Li Hanyi. If it was not absolutely necessary, how could he bully the minority if he was both a genius? The two stood facing each other, and Li Hanyi unsheathed the long sword in his hand. An icy cold air came from the long sword, making everyone around him shake involuntarily. Is this Iron Horse Glacier? Isn't this the third most famous sword in Bili, the most cold sword in the world? Isn't it actually in Li Hanyi's hand? The ice sword versus Tianxiahui's Tianshuang fist, now it's really interesting. It's really a battle between dragons and tigers. I wonder who among the younger generation can beat them. Is Xiao Jian from Jinyue here? It would be even more exciting if Xiao Jian comes. I don't know who mentioned Xiao Jian's name, and Li Hanyi and Qin Shuang's breaths froze for a moment. Both of them looked a little ugly. Especially the three Qin Shuang brothers. They have not forgotten that in Wushuang City, their three great masters worked together, but they were defeated by Xiao Jian, who was in the Shantian realm. This gave them a hard slap in the face. If there is anything they want to do most, it is to defeat Xiao Jian and avenge their previous humiliation. So when the three of them heard someone talking about Xiao Jian, they subconsciously looked into the crowd. This scene made the people around see it, and they all fell silent. Ling looked left and right with her little head, but she never found her brother. This time when she went down the mountain, she heard that her brother might come to Bili, so she begged Li Hanyi to take her down the mountain. But after watching for a long time, there was no sign of my brother, and I suddenly became dejected. As for the others, those who had seen Xiao Jian, including Murong Fu, Shi Feizan and Wan Wan all looked around, trying to find traces of Xiao Jian. Even Yu Bukchun, who had defeated Bu Jingyan just now, was feeling uneasy now. He was confident of beating Bu Jingyan, but if he really wanted to face Xiao Jian, he still didn't have the slightest confidence in his heart. After all, Xiao Jian had a huge psychological shadow on him. Secretly, Zan Ku's eyes scanned the crowd like torches. The purpose of his coming here is to kill Xiao Jian. Even the attraction of inner demons is a matter of convenience. But he had searched secretly for several times, but could not find Xiao Jian. Boy, you can't run away. Zan Ku murmured, his eyes still scanning the crowd. Li Hanyi and Qin Shuang had never expected that just by mentioning Xiao Jian's name, everyone present would start looking for him. They could not even take care of the battle between the two grandmasters. There was an uproar in the field. Xiao Jian upstairs touched his nose. It seems that the previous few fights have left a deep impression on them. But you will be more shocked later. Xiao Jian looked at the scene below and muttered to himself. Qin Shuang saw that there was no trace of Xiao Jian, so he attacked Li Hanyi. The power of the Tianshuang fist was fully released by him. The temperature in Bili was originally low, and after Qin Shuang used the Tianshuang fist, the surrounding temperature instantly dropped a level. Snowflakes were flying all over the sky. Everyone present tightened their clothes. The Frost Fist is indeed one of the three great martial arts of the Tianxiahui. It is said that if the Frost Fist is practiced to the extreme, it can turn the hot summer into the cold winter and change the weather. Can Li Hanyi resist it? Li Hanyi is not a pushover. The Iron Horse Ice River at least increases her chances of winning by 30%. Yu Buchan's eyes were fixed on the Iron Horse Ice River. His current strength has improved fast enough, and he only lacks a good sword. If he can get this sword, then... Li Hanyi felt Yu Buchan's greedy eyes and her pretty face turned cold. She glared at him fiercely. But the most important thing at the moment is to defeat Qin Shuang. He immediately concentrated his mind and calmed his breath, and his internal force circulated wildly in his body. The whole person exuded a pressure, as deep and unfathomable as the abyss. Clang! The Iron Horse Ice River was unsheathed, and Li Hanyi actually used his internal force to mobilize the snowflakes all over the sky. One after another, the sword energy attached to the snowflakes, and suddenly formed a huge tornado. Moonlight and morning flowers, Qin Shuang's icy true qi made the sky and the earth change color. But Li Hanyi used it in his martial arts in this way. Instead, her strength was greatly improved. Boom! The sword energy was raging, wrapping Qin Shuang up. Even the ground was scraped off. Everyone gasped. When Qin Shuang appeared in front of everyone again, she was no longer as calm as at the beginning. There were little ice flowers on her hair. Even her clothes were cut by the snowflake sword energy. Not bad, not bad, young generation, among the people I know, your strength can definitely rank in the top 3. But you still can't keep the golden coffin after all. Sorry. Qin Shuang stared at Li Hanyi coldly. This time he lost. But they have 3 masters. For the task assigned by Shangba, they must do their best. Do it. With Qin Shuang's order, the 3 brothers instantly rushed towards Li Hanyi. Once the 3 of them started, the rest of the people couldn't sit still. They all rushed towards the golden coffin. Yu Buchun, Murong Fu, and other innate masters rushed up like a swarm of bees. Li Hanyi was like a stone in the water, trying to stop it all with his own strength. How dare you! Suddenly, a powerful roar came from the horizon, followed by a strong sword energy. The sword energy spanned dozens of meters, and the target was the people rushing towards the golden coffin. Everyone's face changed drastically. Even Zan Ku had to retreat and avoid the sharp edge. The 3 brothers Qin Shuang were quick-eyed and quick-handed, and joined forces to form a shield in front of them with their internal force. But it was still blasted by the sword energy. The 3 retreated dozens of meters in a row, and then they resolved the impact. Yu Buchun stared at the sword energy in the air, his pupils shrank to the size of a needle tip, and he disappeared in the crowd in a flash. Murong Fu used the power of the stars to move the stars and narrowly transferred the sword energy to the side. Others were in a miserable state, and were hit by the sword energy one after another. Dozens of people were blown away. They vomited blood and were seriously injured. This was the result of the dispersion of the sword energy. Otherwise, the ending of everyone would be more than 10 times worse than it is now. The white-haired fairy stood on the golden coffin with a graceful figure. Holding the sword, he looked at the people below indifferently. He glanced at the 3 brothers of Tianxiahui lightly. Then, his eyes were fixed on Zan Ku. Among the crowd, Zan Ku had the highest strength. He was already at the peak of the Grandmaster level. As for the others, the highest was only a young man who had just entered the Grandmaster level. No matter how talented he was, he could not threaten him. As the war finally about to begin, Xiao Jian murmured as he watched the white-haired fairy appear. The one lying in the golden coffin was Wuxin, the young master of Tianweishan. The white-haired fairy would never let anyone else take him away. And among the people present, the white-haired fairy was undoubtedly the most powerful one. The only one who could rival him was Master Zan Ku of the Shaolin Temple of the Daming Dynasty. The rest of the people were not even comparable to the white-haired immortal. The white-haired immortal stood indifferently on the golden coffin. He did not even look at the people present. He just stood there coldly with a sword in his hand, which made the people around him afraid to step forward for a while. Even Li Hanyi and his group from Shuiyu City did not dare to step forward to scratch the tiger's whiskers. The white-haired immortal snorted coldly, and with the blessing of the terrifying internal force, the sound waves were like a tide. Get out of here! Everyone's face turned pale, and they could not control their bodies and took a step back. Even as strong as Li Hanyi and other masters, they groaned under the impact of the sound waves. Zan Ku's face sank. This was the first time he had seen such an arrogant person. However, Xiaojian did not show up, and Zan Ku did not make a move. He suppressed his anger and watched the situation develop quietly. Seeing that everyone stopped moving forward, the white-haired immortal jumped off the golden coffin. He placed one hand on the golden coffin and slowly pushed it open. Boom! What came into view was a beautiful boy. The boy had delicate features and a hint of sadness between his brows. He just lay quietly in the coffin, making people reluctant to disturb him. The white-haired fairy felt a pain in his heart. So similar. This is their young master. He became a hostage at the age of 5, and I don't know how much he suffered. If it weren't for the protection of Master Wuyu, I'm afraid he would have died long ago. In such an environment, he was forced to be a monk for so many years. I don't know how wrong he is. The white-haired fairy trembled and stretched out his hand, trying to wake up the young master. But in the eyes of others, the white-haired fairy saw the heart demon Yin. He stretched out his hand just to take the heart demon Yin into his pocket. Don't let him take the heart demon Yin. Everyone come together. Are we so many people just going to watch him take the secret book? Kill him and take the secret book. I don't know who shouted, and the rest of the people started shouting. Yu Bukchun narrowed his eyes. He knew the benefits of a peerless martial arts. Since practicing the sword manual of exorcism, he can suppress Bu Jingyan. And before that, he was no match for Bu Jingyan at all. If he could get the heart demon guide that everyone in the martial arts world wanted, then. Thinking of this, Yu Bukchun turned into a residual image and went towards the white-haired immortal. Murong Fu gritted his teeth and looked at the golden coffin with red eyes. Among the younger generation, the three brothers of Tianxiahui have already cultivated to the Grandmaster level. And Li Hanyi has now entered the Grandmaster level. Not to mention the Jinyue Xiaojian who can fight 3 Grandmasters with innate power and win. Compared with them, he has fallen behind by a big step. If he gets the Heart Demon Guide, maybe he can use it to step into the threshold of the Grandmaster. Murong Fu clenched his fists, rushed left and right in the crowd, and quickly went towards the golden coffin. The scene was out of control in an instant. You are looking for death. The white-haired immortal pulled back his hand that wanted to touch Wuxin, and his eyes were fierce. The long sword in his hand turned into thousands of sword lights and went straight to the crowd. Each sword light has innate power. This sword technique alone has knocked away 90% of the martial artists. Even many martial artists were swallowed by the sword light and died before they hit the ground. However, the sword light with dispersed power is nothing to the peak of the innate and the Grandmaster level. They blocked it one after another. Xiaojian stared at the golden fragments floating over. At the same time, the dense system prompt sounded in his mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the Shishui sword skill and automatically comprehending the Shishui sword skill. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the internal force value fragment, internal force value +15. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the Shishui sword skill, martial arts experience value +10. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the Jianshinju and automatically comprehending the Jianshinju. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the Beihin sword skill and automatically comprehending the Beihin sword skill. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the internal force value fragment, internal force value +18. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the Pixie sword skill fragment and automatically comprehending the Pixie sword skill. Xiaojian suddenly felt a chill all over his body, and had a bad feeling. It seemed that something bad had just sneaked in. He hurriedly looked at the attribute panel. Pixie sword skill. How did he pick up this thing? It's simply a king bomb. He sensed his brother. Fortunately, there was no problem. But he was still worried, so he quickly recovered the pixie sword skill. Only then did he feel relieved. The people below were fighting fiercely. Xiao Jian had gained a lot upstairs. However, when Xiao Jian saw a big bald man below, he did not rush to the golden coffin. Instead, he shook his big head and looked for something everywhere, and a bad feeling emerged in his heart. Could this guy be Zanku? Zanku wanted to seek revenge on him, and he was mentally prepared for this. But he didn't expect him to be so persistent. The inner demon was in front of him, but he didn't fight for it, and he wanted to kill him. What hatred and resentment! Xiao Jian watched Zanku search around, but didn't get any results. Finally, he turned around and joined the battlefield, and Xiao Jian felt relieved. The white-haired fairy sensed Zanku's joining, and his face was extremely gloomy. These people in front of him were already difficult enough, and he didn't expect people from Shaolin Temple to get involved. And it was the monk he was most afraid of among this group of people. Get out! The white-haired fairy roared. The long sword in his hand no longer split into thousands of sword lights. Instead, it restrained most of its power. Gathered a stunning sword. Blue sky slash. Inside Beauty Manor, the world shook. The terrifying might made the surrounding air constantly vibrate. A huge roar sounded. No one around the white-haired immortal could stand there safely. All retreated dozens of meters away. But even so, everyone felt suppressed by some terrifying existence. They were horrified. The terrifying sword had just been condensed, and the world changed color. This sword has exceeded the peak of the Grandmaster realm. The power is close to the Grandmaster realm. Even Zanku's face changed involuntarily. Boom! A sword slashed down, and Beauty Manor was split in half by a sword. The sword mark that was dozens of meters deep isolated everyone on the other side of the golden coffin. The white-haired immortal's chest was heaving. He glanced around with a cold look. Who else, arrogant, domineering, overwhelmed the whole audience? Xiao Jian's eyes lit up. This is a true warrior. He couldn't help but feel a heroic aura. Boom! The roof was blown away by Xiao Jian's aura. Let everyone turn their eyes to Xiao Jian's direction. The white-haired fairy's heart sank. He used this trick just to dispel everyone's thoughts of seizing the golden coffin. I didn't expect that someone would dare to stand up. The look he gave Xiao Jian was full of murderous intent. Innate peak. The white-haired fairy sensed Xiao Jian's cultivation and spoke in astonishment. The white-haired fairy looked at Xiao Jian in astonishment. Just now, he repelled a group of masters. Didn't the young man in front of him see it? And the deep sword mark on the ground was just across the crowd. It was enough to prove that his strength was not comparable to that of ordinary masters. A person at the peak of innate dared to show his fighting intention to him. Should we say that the young man is courageous? Or is it that a newborn calf is not afraid of a tiger? Xiao Jian walked calmly to the sword mark cut by the white-haired immortal. He looked down and nodded. He looked like a senior who appreciated a junior. Shi Feishuan looked at Xiao Jian after his disguise and kindly reminded him. Young man, this man's strength is at the peak of the Grandmaster level, you can't deal with him. Xiao Jian smiled faintly. He stepped over the sword mark and appeared in front of the white-haired immortal. The white-haired immortal sneered. You want to challenge me, aren't you afraid of death? Xiao Jian smiled faintly and said seriously. A warrior should move forward courageously, your strength makes me want to fight. Besides, the golden coffin is useful to me. The white-haired immortal's face changed, and an astonishing murderous aura bloomed in his eyes. A mere peak innate dared to come and take the golden coffin. If Xiao Jian was let go, the people who were suppressed just now would probably attack him again. Since you are looking for death, I will grant your wish. The white-haired immortal gathered his inner strength, and the long sword in his hand flashed with cold light. The sharp sword energy came towards Xiao Jian. Although this sword did not use any powerful martial arts. But under the urging of the white-haired immortal's inner strength, it made the air distorted. A compressed air ripple appeared on the sword tip. Seeing that the white-haired immortal had such power with a casual blow, the people in the martial arts world beside him shook their heads and sighed. It's a pity for such a talented young man. How can a congenital chariot challenge a master? He is really looking for death. Do you think everyone is the monster Xiao Jian? Can you fight a master with a congenital chariot? I'm afraid even Xiao Jian doesn't have this ability. After all, the white-haired immortal is at the peak of the master. The discussion of others did not affect Xiao Jian. Xiao Jian narrowed his eyes and his palms emitted a dark light. The powerful Vajra palm was launched instantly. The fierce palm print directly blasted towards the sword energy of the white-haired immortal. Ni Feng's expression changed. He stared at Xiao Jian's palms closely, with a hint of hesitation in his eyes. What is this? Is it the perfect Vajra palm? He still remembered Xiao Jian's Vajra palm clearly. When Xiao Jian was robbing the prison, he used this move to fight against his wind god leg. Moreover, apart from Xiao Jian, he had never heard of anyone else in the martial arts world who could practice the Vajra palm to the perfect level. Zan Ku, who was at the back of the crowd, looked serious. He originally thought that this young man was ignorant and wanted to gain fame. But when he saw that Xiao Jian actually used the perfect Vajra palm, his contempt had long disappeared. Instead, he began to doubt Xiao Jian's identity. In the entire martial arts world, he had only heard of Xiao Jian who could practice the Vajra palm to perfection. Even in Shaolin Temple, no one could practice to the state of great perfection. He is Xiao Jian. Zan Ku's eyes were red, staring at Xiao Jian's back. Forcefully control the killing intent in his heart. Since Xiao Jian can defeat Qiao Feng, his strength must not be inferred by common sense. Now, he challenges the white-haired immortal, and no matter the outcome, it is a good thing for Zan Ku. Let's fight, it's best if both sides are injured. Zan Ku muttered to himself. In the field, the only one who can make him afraid is the white-haired immortal, the peak master. As for Xiao Jian's strength, Zan Ku thinks that he is definitely not as good as the white-haired immortal. So at this time, Zan Ku hopes that Xiao Jian is stronger. A little stronger. It's best to be able to lose both sides with the white-haired immortal. At that time, who can stop him? Kill Xiao Jian, and then take away the heart demon lead, perfect. Li Hanyi looked at Xiao Jian's figure, and waves were surging in her beautiful eyes. Is it you? You are finally here. Xiao Jian said that he would come to see Ling Er, but he didn't expect to come so soon. Li Hanyi touched Ling Er's head. His eyes were full of envy. Xiao Jian's palm fell, and the sword energy of the white-haired immortal collapsed instantly. The strong shock wave raised a cloud of dust. When the dust settled, everyone couldn't help cheering when they saw Xiao Jian standing in front of the white-haired immortal intact. The white-haired immortal's face was extremely gloomy. Although he just made a simple casual sword attack. But it was not something that the Shantian realm could block. Even those who had just entered the Grandmaster realm could not easily defeat his sword energy. Who are you? The white-haired fairy gritted his teeth and stared at Xiao Jian with a sharp gaze. The traces of disguise on Xiao Jian's face were very obvious. He saw it at a glance. At this time, the system prompt sound kept ringing in Xiao Jian's mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the internal force fragment, internal force value plus 200. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the fragment of the Azure Slash, and automatically comprehending the Azure Slash. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the fragment of the Azure Slash, martial arts experience value plus 100. If you want to know, defeat me until you. Xiao Jian raised his eyebrows and continued to provoke. The snatching by everyone just now has provided him with a huge amount of internal force and martial arts experience. However, in order to upgrade to the Grandmaster realm, the required internal force value is 10,000. And his internal force value has reached more than 8,000. Seeing that the white-haired immortal had shocked everyone, he would no longer provide him with internal force and experience points. Xiao Jian then stood up. Since you don't want to fight, then he will do it himself. The battle with the white-haired immortal greatly improved his efficiency in picking up fragments. He was getting closer and closer to the Grandmaster realm. Yu Bukchun looked at Xiao Jian's back, and a hint of hesitation flashed in his eyes. Xiao Jian's strength was unknown, but he should be able to block the white-haired immortal a little. Should he take advantage of the battle between the two and rush forward to lead the inner demon away? He was still very confident in the speed of the body movement of the exorcist sword technique. As long as he succeeded, even the white-haired immortal might not be able to catch up with him when he exerted his full strength. No, wait a little longer. Yu Bukchun suppressed the heat in his heart and slowly walked forward a few steps. Occupy a good position and prepare to seize the opportunity to act. There are many people who think the same as him, and each of them has a hidden agenda. Move forward silently. You're looking for death. The white-haired immortal was furious when he saw the situation was about to get out of control. He finally understood. Xiao Jian was a complete troublemaker. If he wanted to take the young master away, he had to get rid of Xiao Jian, the troublemaker. To intimidate others. Didn't you see that just because Xiao Jian blocked his move just now, the people below were ready to move? A cold light flashed in the white-haired immortal's eyes. The whole body was full of momentum. The strong fluctuation pushed the people below back a step. At this time, the white-haired immortal used all his strength. The terrifying murderous intent made Xiao Jian's eyes change. Immediately, he pushed with both palms. A golden dragon roared out from his palm. When Xiao Jian's 18 dragon subduing palms came out, the people below were instantly speechless. 18 dragon subduing palms, that's the 18 dragon subduing palms. He actually knows the 18 dragon subduing palms. Everyone screamed. Who in the martial arts world doesn't know the name of the 18 dragon subduing palms? Chao Feng was famous for his 18 dragon subduing palms. He made a great name for himself among the younger generation. He was even known as the Chao Feng of the North. How could this young man know the 18 dragon subduing palms? Everyone was stunned. But the white-haired immortal was not stunned. The terrifying killing move formed by the long sword in his hand rushed straight towards Xiao Jian. He smashed the golden dragon hard. Ah! Boom! The golden dragon collided with the blue sky slash, bursting with dazzling light. Everyone couldn't help but cover their eyes. Now! Yu Bukchun covered his face with his hands, and rushed straight to the golden coffin against the strong shock wave. His strange body speed allowed him to arrive in front of the golden coffin in the blink of an eye. Just as he was about to look inside, there was a faint sound of thunder, and Xiao Jian's figure appeared beside Yu Bukchun. Bang! Xiao Jian landed a palm on Yu Bukchun's chest, knocking him away fiercely. He had been on guard against Yu Bukchun, the hypocrite. Wanting to sneak close to the golden coffin, isn't this a dream? This scene between lightning and fire made Beifaxian's eyes split. What a courage! Beifaxian was so angry that he didn't care about Xiao Jian and stabbed Yu Bukchun head on with a sword. But Yu Bukchun dodged it instantly with a weird speed. He returned to the crowd. And Xiao Jian also saw Wuxin lying in the coffin. He was dressed in a white robe, with an extremely handsome appearance and aloof temperament, but it was a pity that he was a monk. At this moment, Wuxin suddenly opened his eyes and met Xiao Jian's eyes. For a moment, Xiao Jian fell into his own memory world. He saw the red dress in the depths of his memory, in Jinling City. Arrogant and extraordinary, his eyes were full of indifference to the people of the world. Like a high god, looking down at the ants on earth. The many masters of the Ming dynasty court were like children in front of her, without the slightest ability to fight back. With a wave of her hand, the sky and the earth changed color. Houses collapsed, and the terrifying waves swallowed everything. It was in this environment that Xiao Jian's parents were affected. Only he and Xiaoling were left to depend on each other. So that's it. Xiao Jian came back to his senses with cold sweat on his forehead. There was still a little palpitation in his eyes. It's you, Dongfang Bubai. When he first came through, Xiao Jian suspected that the figure in his mind was Dongfang Bubai. Now he can finally be sure. With his sudden rise, the Sun-Moon sect will never let him grow up. Now he and the Sun-Moon sect are irreconcilable. Coupled with this blood debt, he and Dongfang Bubai will have a battle sooner or later. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the Heart Demon induction fragments and automatically comprehending the Heart Demon induction. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the Rakshasa Hall Forbidden Technique fragments and automatically comprehending the Rakshasa Hall Forbidden Technique. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the Internal Force Value fragments, Internal Force Value +15. The system's prompt sound woke Xiao Jian up, and listening to the voice coming from his mind, Xiao Jian's mouth corners slightly lifted. With the Heart Demon Yin in hand, as long as he gains some internal force and martial arts experience points, today's goal will be successfully completed. Xiao Jian looked at everyone present coldly. Behind him was the golden coffin that everyone had been thinking about. Everyone, who still wants the golden coffin? Step forward. The white-haired fairy's face was very dark. The young man in front of him was too arrogant. He was just at the peak of the innate realm, and he didn't take himself seriously at all. Did he really think that he could match him, the peak master, by taking his move? Boy, you saw what's inside, and there's nothing here that you want. If he wasn't worried that Xiao Jian would hurt his young master, the white-haired fairy wouldn't have said so much nonsense to Xiao Jian. Just push it over. Xiao Jian raised his eyelids, sneered and said nothing. This expression made everyone around him believe that there must be the heart demon Yin, this peerless magic skill. Yu Bukchun showed a sinister look on his face. He said loudly, "The treasure belongs to the virtuous. Young man, no matter how powerful you are, can you fight against so many people? Yes, you really think that the 18 dragon subduing palms is invincible?" Murong Fu sneered. If they really fight, even if his Dozhuan Xingyi cannot defeat Xiao Jian, at least he will have no problem protecting himself. With these two people leading the way, the crowd below became agitated. Xiao Jianxi was not panicking at all. As he watched the people around him getting closer and closer, the arc of his mouth became bigger and bigger. Kill! With a shout of killing, everyone rushed forward. The people who were blinded by the inner demon rushed forward with all their strength. Yu Bukchun and Murong Fu quietly slipped behind the crowd. The white-haired immortal and many masters and innate geniuses stood silently in place. They wanted to see how strong the young man in front of them was. Boom! All kinds of martial arts were thrown at Xiao Jian without any cost. Xiao Jian embraced his hands indifferently. A whirlwind suddenly appeared with him as the center. It took in all the attacks. And then it was released backwards at an extremely terrifying speed. In an instant, the area dozens of meters in front of Xiao Jian became a hell. Countless martial arts rushed out from the whirlwind in front of Xiao Jian. Those who attacked Xiao Jian were knocked over by the martial arts flying backwards, and blood flowed. Dozhuan Xingyi. Murong Fu widened his eyes and screamed, "You are Xiao Jian." He had practiced Dozhuan Xingyi of the Murong family for more than 10 years, so he could naturally recognize it. And the only people who can Dozhuan Xingyi are his Murong family. Except Xiao Jian. Xiao Jian. Xiao Jian, the Jinyue of the Ming dynasty. I was wondering who was so powerful, it turned out to be him. Everyone who knew Xiao Jian exclaimed. I had heard that Xiao Jian had come to Bili a long time ago, but I had never seen him. It turned out that he had come a long time ago, but he just changed his face. When Ling'er heard someone calling her brother's name, she knew that the boy in front of her was her brother whom she hadn't seen for a long time. When she was about to call out, she quickly covered her mouth with a small hand. She knew that her brother couldn't be disturbed now. So even though she missed him very much, she still covered her mouth tightly. Her big eyes stared at Xiao Jian's figure. Xiao Jian saw Ling'er's performance with the corner of his eyes, and his heart ached. He turned around and wiped off the makeup on his face. He smiled faintly in the direction of Ling'er. Then he looked at the people with the most murderous intentions in the crowd. Murong Fu, Yu Bukchun, and the monk Zan Ku. In another corner, Zhao He, the elder of the Sun and Moon sect, looked at Xiao Jian, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Is this Xiao Jian, the Jinyue? He is really a dragon among men. Zhao He hid in the crowd and was not discovered by Xiao Jian. After all, the two had never met before, and there were too many people around who showed murderous intentions to Xiao Jian. Xiao Jian just looked at everyone quietly. With a smile on his face, his words made everyone want to kill him. Everyone, the golden coffin is behind me. Kill me and it will be yours. Who's coming? Xiao Jian's arrogant attitude angered everyone present. But despite the anger, the scene became quiet in an instant. No one dared to step forward to provoke. Even Zan Ku and Beifaxian just glared at him. He suppressed the anger in his heart, and his feet seemed to be rooted, motionless. Beifaxian just wants to welcome the young master back, and his desire to fight is not high. What's more, although Xiao Jian is only at the peak of his innate ability, but the true combat power is unfathomable. If a fight really breaks out, both sides will suffer losses, and then others will benefit. Zan Ku has a similar idea. Just wanting others to start first and consume Xiao Jian's internal strength. so he can benefit from it. As for the rest of the people, they knew their own strengths and weaknesses, and no one dared to step forward to wrestle with Xiao Jian. So for a moment, no one on the scene spoke, just looking at Xiao Jian quietly. Is this Xiao Jian's prestige? So many masters dare not step forward. Li Hanyi looked at the scene in front of him in shock, with a different light flashing in his eyes. As a member of the younger generation, Xiao Jian has already shown an invincible style of his generation. Ling Er next to him smiled and whispered, Master, are you interested in my brother? What? Don't talk nonsense. Li Hanyi was startled and hurriedly covered Ling Er's mouth with his hand, fearing that this little ancestor would say something earth-shattering and tearful again. At the same time, he looked around with a guilty conscience. Finding that no one heard it, he was relieved. But her blushing face proved that her heart was not calm. She looked at Xiao Jian with a guilty conscience. Wan looked at Xiao Jian's majestic and domineering appearance, and her whole body was soft and almost melted. A man like this is worthy of my witch Wan. Shi Feishuan, who was next to her, couldn't help but spit when she heard Wan's words. How shameless. Wan giggled. The dimples on her face were particularly cute. Shi Feishuan, a man like Xiao Jian is not easy to find. If you miss him, you will never find him again. As the saint of Sihang Jingzai, don't forget the rules of Sihang Jingzai. The Guiyan sect is not like Sihang Jingzai. There are not so many rules. You can do whatever you want. And what about Sihang Jingzai? That is a famous and upright sect. As the saint of a famous and upright sect, how can Shi Feishuan compete with a witch for a man? Shi Feishuan snorted coldly, looking at Xiao Jian's figure. I don't know what he is thinking. Murong Fu's eyes are almost spitting fire. Who is Xiao Jian? How dare he stand in front of the golden coffin and look down on the crowd? He should be the one standing there. He, Murong Fu, is the most outstanding young talent in the world. Xiao Jian, you are just showing off by relying on the unique skills of my Murong family. If you have the ability, use your own martial arts. Murong Fu jumped out first. Jealousy made him lose his mind. He didn't remember at all that when Xiao Jian used the divine elephant to suppress the prison, he killed all the people and beat them all to a pulp. Oh, Xiao Jian showed a sneer at the corner of his mouth and glanced at Murong Fu. Since Mr. Murong wants to learn my unique skills, then come on. Murong Fu took a step forward and suddenly thought of Xiao Jian's strength. The corner of his mouth twitched, and he took back his foot again. Ha ha ha, Xiao Jian laughed at Murong Fu's action. What Nan Murong? He is just a person with a false reputation. Everyone saw Murong Fu's actions, and Xiao Jian's ridicule made everyone present look at him with contempt. Some people even couldn't help laughing. After this incident, if Murong Fu couldn't defeat Xiao Jian with his own strength, then his reputation would be completely ruined. The name of Nan Murong was no longer his pride, but a shame. Murong Fu's eyes were red. Just as he was about to rush forward regardless of everything, he was pulled by Wang Yuyan beside him. Cousin, don't be impulsive, he is provoking you. Murong Fu threw Wang Yuyan's arm. Get out. Do you also think I am not as good as him? Murong Fu looked at Xiao Jian, and his murderous intent surged. He didn't care about the sad Wang Yuyan and went straight to Xiao Jian. Xiao Jian, today is your death. Murong Fu danced with his long sword, and the sword energy was everywhere. But in Xiao Jian's eyes now, it was just a child's play. He raised his hand and used Piyin Palm. A palm-sized water ball went towards Murong Fu's long sword. Boom! The huge force blasted Murong Fu away and smashed him hard in the snow. Xiao Jian showed disdain on his face and sneered. You can't even catch Piyin Palm. You are far behind Bu Jingyan. Murong Fu flew backwards with bloodshot eyes. He jumped out of the snow with a flash. Xiao Jian, you are looking for death. It's okay to lose to Xiao Jian, but what does Xiao Jian mean by saying this? Saying that he is not as good as Bu Jingyan. Isn't this rubbing salt into his wounds? Bu Jingyan's reputation is not as great as his. Now Bu Jingyan has entered the Grandmaster realm. He, Nan Murong, is still struggling in the Shantian realm. The furious Murong Fu used all his internal strength and stabbed Xiao Jian in the face with the sword technique passed down from his family. Xiao Jian was as still as a mountain. A layer of frost suddenly appeared on his right fist. Bang! The heavenly frost fist hit Morong Fu's chest hard, sending him flying backwards. A deep pit appeared in the snow. When Morong Fu stood up, his body was covered with a thin layer of frost. Xiaojian didn't even look at Morong Fu, and snorted coldly, "You can't even catch the heavenly frost fist. You are far inferior to Qin Shuang." "Ah, Xiaojian, you are going too far." Morong Fu rushed towards Xiaojian like a madman. Xiaojian's expression was as cold as frost. When Morong Fu appeared beside him, he raised his foot and kicked him out. "If you can't catch the wind god kick, Nifeng can kick you to death with one kick." The people around looked at Xiaojian as if they had seen a ghost. Xiaojian is not only strong, but also ruthless. He wants to trample Morong Fu to death. He will never be able to stand up again. Morong Fu stood up trembling, with wounds all over his body. Blood was flowing from the corners of his mouth, and blood was oozing from his eyes. He looked extremely miserable. He was no longer as charming as Nan Morong before. But Morong Fu seemed to feel nothing. He just stared at Xiaojian. Now he had only one goal, which was to kill Xiaojian. Xiaojian raised his chin slightly, and pointed his finger into a sword. Snowflakes flew around him. Moonlight at dusk, flowers at dawn. The beautiful picture was full of amazing murderous intent. Snowflakes whistled and rushed towards Morong Fu. Shua shua shua. Morong Fu was entangled by snowflakes, and the whole person was submerged in the snowflakes. When the snowflakes fell, Morong Fu was covered in blood, trembling, and stood with his sword. He stared at Xiaojian. It seemed as if he wanted to kill Xiaojian with his eyes. Until this time, Xiaojian's eyes fell on Morong Fu, and he sneered, "Compared to Li Hanyi, you are far inferior." Puff. Hearing Xiaojian's words, Morong Fu looked up to the sky and spit out a large mouthful of blood. Unable to hold on any longer, he fell straight to the ground. The dignified Nan Morong couldn't even get through a single move under Xiaojian. He was even humiliated again and again. In the end, he was so angry that he vomited blood. This horrible scene made everyone gasp. Looking at Morong Fu's embarrassed appearance, they felt cold in their hearts. Everyone could see that Morong Fu was almost useless. If there is no major change, he can only stop at the Shantian realm in this life. It is even possible that he will never recover. Xiaojian's heart moved, and he pulled out his attribute panel. Name: Xiaojian. Age: 17. Kung Fu. The first chapter of the Divine Elephant Prison Power, 160 Giant Elephant Particles. Martial Arts. Perfect Vajra Palm, minor success in Wind God Leg. Minor success in Cloud Clearing Palm, minor success in Star Shifting. Minor success in Frost Fist, minor success in Invincible Tyrant Hand. Minor success in Sunset Holy Slash, minor success in Arhat Sword Skill. Minor success in Pulse Cutting Finger, minor success in Red Heart Slash. Minor success in Subduing Tiger Fist, minor success in Throwing Monument Hand, minor success in Purple Cloud Divine Art, minor success in Heavenly Demon Art, minor success in Wuji Sword Skill, minor success in Moonlit Night and Morning, minor success in Stillwater Sword Skill, minor success in North Cold Sword Art, minor success in Blue Sky Slash, minor success in Heart Demon Attraction, minor success in Rakshasa Hull Forbidden Technique. Martial Arts Experience, 3070. Internal Force, 9160. Realm, Peak of the Innate. After the battle just now, his internal force has exceeded 9,000, and he is only a little away from being promoted to Grandmaster. Today he vows to step into the Grandmaster realm. Turning his head to look at the crowd, a fierce look flashed in his eyes. "Why, don't you want to lead the inner demon? So many people dare not come up, what a bunch of rubbish." Xiaojian's words made everyone's face dark. They all glared at Xiaojian. Yu Bukchun narrowed his eyes, and immediately had an idea in his mind. Instantly seized the opportunity to lead the rhythm. He opened his mouth and shouted loudly, "Xiao Xiaoxia, you are so powerful, but you don't have to humiliate everyone like this, right?" With Yu Bukchun taking the lead, the people around him became angry. "It's just that the strength is a little stronger. I didn't expect the young man to be so arrogant. If virtue is not matched with martial arts, there will be disaster. A good young man is about to be ruined. There are so many people in the field, isn't there a senior who can teach him a lesson?" "Humph, Master Xuanku is a senior master, how could he care about a junior like Xiao Jian? Listening to the words of dissatisfaction with Xiao Jian, Yu Buchan's mouth corners slightly raised. Young people are young people after all. When they have a little strength, they don't know their surnames. But it's good this way. As long as he can arouse the public anger and make everyone attack together. He doesn't believe that Xiao Jian can fight 10 people alone, or even 100 people alone. What's more, there are many grandmasters among the people present. There are even grandmasters at the peak. Xiao Jian was arrogant, with his chin raised high, looking at the people in the martial arts world present with contempt. Everyone almost couldn't help but draw their swords to chop him. Qin Shuang looked at Xiao Jian and frowned slightly. Xiao Jian's performance at this moment was very inconsistent with the image of Xiao Jian in his impression. In his impression, although Xiao Jian was young, he always didn't offend others if they didn't offend me. He had never heard of him bullying others with martial arts. He was much better than many people present. But why is he provoking everyone like this now? The three brothers looked at each other, all showing puzzled expressions. The three of them chose to stand aside and watch the fun in tacit understanding. Li Hanyi's eyes flashed with doubt. Xiao Jian's exaggerated behavior made her confused. In the past, Xiao Jian was domineering and ruthless, but not unreasonable. He never bullied others, unless you threatened him. Or you were his enemy. But what about now? He looked completely innocent, which was really weird. Wanwan's eyes lit up. This is her man. He should be so domineering and arrogant. Shi Feishuan frowned slightly. Staring at Xiao Jian, she felt that something was wrong. But she couldn't tell for a moment. She could only stand aside and wait for the situation to develop. These people knew Xiao Jian a little bit and were not ready to take action. In addition, the others looked at Xiao Jian with unfriendly expressions. They seemed to be ready to take action at any time. Zhao He, the elder of the Sun and Moon sect, looked at Xiao Jian with disdain in the crowd. Is this the Jinyue who caused Kuyang to fall? Arrogant and brainless. However, now is the time to get rid of this big trouble. As long as everyone rushes up, he will definitely go up to take his life. By the way, take the inner demon into his pocket. The purpose of this trip has been achieved. Thinking of this, Zhao He's face became serious and he was fully prepared. Shaolin Temple Zan Ku's eyes flashed with a strong murderous intent. His only son almost died in the hands of Jinyue, which made him hate Xiao Jian to the bone. He wanted to do it a long time ago, but he never found a chance. Since Xiao Jian is looking for death now, don't blame him for being rude. Since you are looking for death, then I will send you on your way. Zan Ku muttered to himself, revealing a cruel smile. Yu Bukchun saw that the time was almost right, and he only needed a fuse to detonate the whole scene. With a turn of his eyes, he said to everyone, the Heart Demon Guide is a treasure of the martial arts world. Only those with virtue can possess it. Everyone, come together, kill Xiao Jian, the devil, and share the secret book. Xiao Jian watched Yu Bukchun's performance coldly. From the moment Yu Bukchun opened his mouth, he knew what Yu Bukchun was planning. He didn't dare to go forward to fight him, so he wanted to get rid of him with the help of everyone. However, this move was exactly what Xiao Jian wanted, so he let this jumping clown show off. Kill Xiao Jian, share the secret book. Kill Xiao Jian, share the secret book. Everyone was encouraged by Yu Bukchun. They shouted fiercely. One by one, they drew their swords and rushed straight to Xiao Jian to kill him. As if Xiao Jian was some unforgivable villain. The white-haired immortal looked at the people who were fighting together, his face changed, and he dodged to block the golden coffin. They can fight however they want. But the young master must not be in trouble. Xiao Jian saw the white-haired immortal's actions and did not stop him. Anyway, he had already got the Heart Demon Guide. As for Wuxin, white-haired immortal can do whatever he wants with him. Xiao Jian took a step forward and came to the front of everyone in an instant. He could use all kinds of martial arts at will, such as Paiyan Palm and Tianshuang Fist. He used them more smoothly than Qin Shuang and the other two. He beat them to pieces and vomited blood. Qin Shuang and the other two looked as dark as ink, watching Xiao Jian kill everyone with their famous martial arts. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the fragment of Tiger Claw Gong and automatically comprehending Tiger Claw Gong. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the fragment of Dingtian spear technique and automatically comprehending Dingtian spear technique. Ding. Congratulations to the host for picking up the fragment of internal force value plus 15. Ding. Congratulations to the host for picking up the fragment of internal force value plus 10. Xiao Jian's mind kept flashing with the system's prompt sound, but at this time he seemed not to hear it. Immersed in the pleasure of fighting. Suddenly, Xiao Jian looked to the left in front of him. Zan Ku slipped over at some point, with a ferocious look on his face. Xiao Jian, you can die now. Zan Ku suddenly slammed his palms towards Xiao Jian. The strong internal force fluctuations forced the people around him to retreat. Is it finally done? Xiao Jian sneered in his heart. This big monk took great pains to kill him. He had been hiding in Marin Manor for so long, and finally couldn't hide anymore. Xiao Jian's whole body suddenly radiated a glittering golden light. A huge golden dragon roared up. Ah! The majestic dragon roar shocked everyone's mind. But this is not over yet, the next is the second, the third. Until the end, there were actually 18 giant dragon phantoms surrounding Xiao Jian. Asshole! Zan Ku widened his eyes and cursed angrily. He knew the power of the 18 dragon subduing palms very well. If it was 1 or 2, he could still hold on. After all, Xiao Jian's cultivation was there, and the gap with him was really a bit big. But these 18 dragons, just by piling them up, could kill him. Zan Ku ran away immediately. But it was too late. 18 golden dragons roared towards him. Boom! A violent explosion was heard in the Beauty Manor. Those who could not dodge were instantly torn apart by the dragons. Smoke and dust rose up. Yu Bukchun looked at the mushroom cloud behind him with horror. The muscles on his face twitched uncontrollably. Is this still the Shantian realm? If he hadn't run fast. If Xiao Jian's target was not the big monk. At this moment, he was gone. This was the closest he had ever been to death. Li Hanyi swallowed her saliva and looked at the smoke and dust for a long time before she could come back to her senses. Xiao Jian was still in the Shantian realm. He could actually deliver such a powerful blow. Just looking at this movement, she, a master, was panicked. Master, where is my brother? Everything happened so fast just now that Linger didn't see it clearly. There was a loud bang, a cloud of dust rose in front of him, and then his brother disappeared. Your brother, don't worry, he will be fine. Li Hanyi smiled bitterly. How could such a strong man get into trouble so easily? At this time, the ones who should be worried are those who took action, not Xiao Jian. When the smoke and dust cleared, the ground was in a mess. A thick layer of ground was scraped off in a radius of dozens of meters. Xiao Jian was in the mess, surrounded by broken limbs and arms. There was not even a groaning person. The eyelids of those who escaped by chance were twitching. I am so lucky. I actually survived. My senior brother died, and my master died too. How could this be possible? Xiao Jian, how could he be so strong? He is a devil, a devil. Revenge, we must avenge these fellow martial artists. Some people looked at Xiao Jian in the center with hatred, wishing to eat his flesh and drink his blood. If it weren't for Xiao Jian, how could their brothers and seniors die? This time, at least dozens of people died. More than half of the people in the martial arts world in Mernjuang were killed directly. Where is Master Zan Ku? How come the master is gone? Suddenly, someone screamed. That was a senior at the peak of the Grandmaster level. Could he be dead? Thinking of this, everyone looked around. Ahem. Suddenly, among the corpses and broken arms, a figure stood up with difficulty. The shiny bald head was blue and purple. There was a big hole, and blood was dripping. The cassock on his body was tattered, and he looked like a beggar. Zan Ku climbed up with gritted teeth. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with his hands, staring at Xiao Jian fiercely. Xiao Jian used all the 18 dragon subduing palms on him just now. And the rest were just unlucky guys who were killed by the aftermath. He knew that Xiao Jian was powerful. And he had been prepared, but Xiao Jian had no martial ethics at all. He started with a big move. He was seriously injured. Qin Shuang and others were stunned by Zan Ku's appearance. Hiss. Xiao Jian actually hurt Zan Ku like this. Is he still human? Shantian actually hurt him to the peak of the Grandmaster. No one in the younger generation dares to call himself a genius in front of Xiao Jian. What a pity, I don't know if Xiao Jian can make it through this. Xiao Jian has proved himself with his strength. But this matter is not over. Zan Ku will definitely not let Xiao Jian go. The rest of the people in the martial arts world will not let him go either. Xiao Jian, you deserve to die. Zan Ku raised his head and howled, as if he wanted to vent his anger. He was a grandmaster at the peak of the grandmaster, but he was made so embarrassed by a junior. If he didn't kill Xiao Jian, how could he gain a foothold in the martial arts world in the future? Zan Ku's long howl shook the surrounding winds, and even the snowflakes in the air were blown away. The entire Marin Manor was shrouded in his anger. The people around him looked terrified, watching Zan Ku step by step towards Xiao Jian in the field. Xiao Jian was still like a stone sculpture, with his eyes closed and motionless. It was not that he did not want to move, but the 18 dragon subduing palms just now had directly drained him. There was not a drop of internal energy left in his body. While Zan Ku was going crazy, Xiao Jian silently restored his internal energy. The internal energy in his body was refilling at a very fast speed. Seeing Zan Ku preparing to take action, Wan was very anxious. No, I want to help him. Xiao Jian was her chosen man, how could she watch him die like this? Just as she was about to go down to help, she was stopped by Shi Feishuan. What are you doing? Even if you can't get Xiao Jian, you can't stop me from saving people. Wan was furious and directly confronted Shi Feishuan. Almost broke Shi Feishuan's defense. Gritted her teeth and said, why are you crazy? Xiao Jian is fine. The sword heart of Sihang Sword House is clear and can sense a lot of information that others don't know. In her perception, Xiao Jian's breath is recovering rapidly and there is no danger at all. Wan looked at Shi Feishuan in confusion. Are you serious? Shi Feishuan rolled her eyes. She ignored Wan's love-brained attitude. She stared at Xiao Jian in the field carefully. Ling'er saw Zan Ku was actually preparing to attack her brother, and was about to rush out. But Li Hanyi covered her mouth and held her tightly. Your brother will be fine, he still has a trick to use. There was no sign of injury on Xiao Jian's body. It was just that his breath was a little weak. Besides, Xiao Jian still had a very terrifying martial arts that he hadn't used. If necessary, how could he not use it? Ling'er heard Li Hanyi's comfort, tilted her head as if she remembered something. She stopped struggling and looked carefully. Zan Ku walked in front of Xiao Jian and sneered. Haha, genius, so what if you were a genius? You dare to hurt me, today I will take your head. After saying that, he stretched out his hand and slapped Xiao Jian's head hard. You think too much. Xiao Jian suddenly opened his eyes, startling Zan Ku. Before he could react, he was punched on the chin by Xiao Jian. The whole person fell backwards. Everyone was stunned. Hiss. Xiao Jian still has the strength to fight. Master Zan Ku was beaten again and again. How powerful is Xiao Jian? The first time, it can be said that Master Zan Ku was careless, but what about now? Master Zan Ku is going crazy. Facts have proved that Zan Ku is really going crazy. Zan Ku, who was hit hard, had his mouth twisted. The look he gave Xiao Jian was extremely crazy. But he did not rush up to fight Xiao Jian again. Instead, he turned his head and looked at the people around him. He shouted, what are you standing there for? Fight together. Killing Xiao Jian is not just his business. Although he hated Xiao Jian to death. But Zan Ku, who had suffered a loss, did not want to face Xiao Jian alone. Otherwise, he would not have survived for so long. Everyone looked at each other. Li Hanyi and others looked at Zan Ku with contempt. A master at the peak of the Shaolin. Not only did he bully a congenital teenager with his big body, but he also let everyone beat him up. He really has no shame at all. The corners of Yu Buchan's mouth twitched. He was very contemptuous in his heart, but everyone's goal was to deal with Xiao Jian. He naturally would not ruin Zan Ku's plan, but spoke to help Zan Ku out. Master is right, Xiao Jian's internal strength is greatly damaged, and he can't hold on for much longer. The Heart Demon Guide is right in front of us. As long as we kill Xiao Jian and grab the secret book, we can share it with everyone. When the Heart Demon Guide was mentioned, the frightened people began to surround it again. They didn't think that if they killed Xiao Jian, they would have to face the peak master Beifaxian. There were also Qin Shuang and others present. With so many masters here, how could they fall to the innate realm? Yu Bukchun and others were just using them as cannon fodder. It was just that in the face of huge interests, these people had lost their minds. Xiao Jian looked at the people in front of him coldly. There was no ripple in his heart. Kill! With a shout, the fierce battle began again. This time Zan Ku was prepared and no longer so aggressive. Just relying on his inner strength, which was much stronger than Xiao Jian's, he forced Xiao Jian to fight him head-on. He suppressed Xiao Jian step by step, making him unable to withdraw. In addition, Yu Bukchun was harassing him at will. From time to time, he would suddenly attack with a sword. Xiao Jian's situation became very tense. Now, Zhao He's eyes lit up. He had waited for so long, and finally got this opportunity. Compared with Zan Ku, he had better patience and could endure more. He jumped and rushed towards Xiao Jian. The sharp fluctuation of inner strength made everyone present jump in their hearts. There is still a Grand Master. Xiao Jian is finished now. It's really a wall falling and everyone pushing it down. I've said that young people shouldn't be too arrogant. Now it's all right, A Grand Master in his prime, a Grand Master who had not experienced any battle damage. The deterrence brought by taking action at this critical juncture was huge. It also brought great pressure to Xiao Jian. For a while, Xiao Jian's range of activities was compressed to the extreme. Zhao He laughed out loud. Xiao Jian, you dare to kill the elder of my Sun Moon sect, you will definitely die today. Ku Yang died in Xiao Jian's hands, and this matter has long been spread in the martial arts world. The Sun Moon sect has been ridiculed by many people in the martial arts world. However, today, the martial arts world must know it. Whoever dares to offend the Sun Moon sect must die. Zhao He made a full-scale attack, and joined forces with Zan Ku and Yu Bukchun to force Xiao Jian into danger. Even though Xiao Jian had many top martial arts to protect his body, his condition did not change much. And the space for display was getting smaller and smaller. If this goes on, defeat is a matter of time. Xiao Jian's eyes flashed. It's almost time. He had been holding on just now, just to collect more martial arts fragments. Until now, the prompt sound in his mind has never stopped. With a thought, all the internal force value was used to improve his cultivation. Suddenly, the huge internal force consumed in the body was instantly full. He also quickly charged towards the Grandmaster realm. The internal force fluctuations on Xiao Jian's body became more and more intense. At the same time, Xiao Jian recycled all the junk martial arts and used the experience points to improve the divine elephant prison power. One by one, the giant elephant particles began to awaken. The 161st particle. The 162nd particle. A mysterious aura began to permeate the battlefield. What is this? Is someone going to break through? The white-haired fairy was the first to sense this aura, and he was hesitant. He looked around for the source of the aura. The sudden appearance of a Grandmaster had a huge impact on the direction of the situation. The next to sense this aura were the three brothers Qin Shuang and Li Hanyi. They had just broken through the Grandmaster realm not long ago and were most sensitive to this aura. Finally, the three Grandmasters Zan Ku in the battle. The battle among the people in the beauty manor made this aura more and more difficult to lock. However, after careful sensing by everyone, they finally turned their target to Xiao Jian. This, isn't it? Xiao Jian is going to break through. Grandmaster at the age of 17. Am I dreaming? The white-haired fairy's eyes almost popped out. Xiao Jian is actually breaking through the Grandmaster realm. Chapter 51. And he broke through the Grandmaster realm while being besieged by three Grandmasters and a group of innates. This is simply too shocking. Unprecedented. Ni Feng's mouth twitched constantly. When he broke through the Grandmaster realm, the people of the Dugu family approached him. Just a little disturbance almost made him fail. But now Xiao Jian actually broke through while fighting. The most horrified people were Zan Ku and others. Sensing the increasingly terrifying aura of Xiao Jian, Zan Ku almost lost his soul. The innate realm is so difficult to deal with. If he breaks through the Grandmaster realm, will they still have a chance to survive? Hurry up and use your ultimate move. Zan Ku screamed and brazenly used his best martial arts, Prajna Palm. Under his desperate urging, the surrounding innate warriors were forced to retreat by this aura. Zhao He's expression changed drastically. Gritting his teeth, he used his best move, the fiery demon fist. His fist suddenly gave off a strange fiery red color. The air around his fists became distorted under this red light. Yu Buqun did not dare to hold back, and his figure became more and more strange. The long sword appeared and disappeared, and the sword rushed straight to Xiao Jian's vitals. If they did not take this opportunity to kill Xiao Jian, they would be the ones to die. Ah! Xiao Jian suddenly roared, and his aura became more than 10 times stronger like a tide. He instantly broke through to the Grandmaster realm. The giant elephant particles had awakened to 236 particles, completing a leap forward. When the attacks of Zanku and others were approaching, a giant elephant phantom appeared above Xiao Jian's head. The phantom was between reality and illusion, with a height of 100 meters, overlooking the entire beauty manor. Ah! The giant elephant roared to the sky, causing the attacks of several people to collapse in an instant. People in the Shantian realm vomited blood and fell to the ground. Even the grandmasters like Yu Buqun felt a blockage in their hearts. They almost couldn't catch their breath. Only Xiao Ling'er, who also practiced the divine elephant prison power, had no problem. Looking at the giant elephant phantom above Xiao Jian's head, she was envious. Muttering, "Brother, Ling'er will become so strong in the future and protect brother." The giant elephant above Xiao Jian's head roared loudly, and the roar shook the world. If you look down from the sky, you can clearly see a circular impulse wave. With Xiao Jian as the center, it quickly moved in all directions, sweeping the whole place with the momentum of killing gods and Buddhas. Puff, 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 everyone vomited blood and flew backwards. Even Zanku, the peak grandmaster, was no exception. As for the Shantian realm who besieged Xiao Jian, they were shattered in the blink of an eye. All fell to the ground and died. Only Zhao He, Zanku, and Yu Buqun could still hold on, staring at Xiao Jian in the field with red eyes. It was like a god descending from heaven. He looked down on everyone. Wow, this is my good man. Wanwan looked like a fangirl, her saliva almost flowing down. In her eyes, there was only the handsome and majestic appearance of Xiao Jian, and the shadow of the giant elephant exuding an ancient and mysterious atmosphere above his head. Shi Feishuan rarely argued with Wanwan, opened her mouth wide, and stared blankly at the giant elephant above Xiao Jian's head. This giant elephant was much bigger than the last time she saw it. The three brothers Qin Shuang smiled bitterly and looked at each other. The three of them were considered the most talented people in the world today. They entered the Grandmaster realm at the age of only 20. It was also a good story in the martial arts world. But in front of Xiao Jian, it was a complete joke. 17 years old, he entered the Grandmaster realm at the age of 17, and he broke through the Grandmaster realm in one fell swoop in a battle with 3 Grandmasters and dozens of innates. Who else can do this feat? How is this possible? He actually became a Grandmaster so quickly. Zanku looked at Xiao Jian as if he had seen a ghost. He was only 17 years old. At the age of 17, even Bodhidharma might not have this ability at this age, right? Yu Buqun looked at the giant elephant above his head with trembling hands. He wanted to slap himself in the face. How could he forget that Xiao Jian had such a trick? At the beginning, Xiao Jian relied on this trick to press a group of geniuses to the ground. As a result, Xiao Jian never used this trick at Marin Manor. What does this mean? It means that Xiao Jian did not use his full strength at all. And he actually stepped forward to provoke Xiao Jian when he still had some strength left. No, he had to run quickly. As soon as this thought flashed through Yu Buqun's mind, he saw Xiao Jian's half-smile expression. As if he saw into his heart at a glance. Gudong. Yu Buqun swallowed hard, his legs seemed to be rooted in the ground, unable to move. Xiao Jian walked towards the 3 people step by step, and the terrifying power made the 3 people step back step by step. They gathered together, as if they felt safer this way. You, what are you going to do? Yu Buqun trembled his lips and screamed. Even his voice changed, sharp and piercing. Xiao Jian looked at Yu Buqun coldly, with a slight lift of his mouth. Master Yu, is your brother okay? Yu Buqun froze. The evil fighting sword manual finally fell into Xiao Jian's hands. Then he must know the contents of the evil repelling sword manual. Thinking of this, Yu Bukchun began to tremble all over, looking at Xiao Jian in horror. The others were confused. Brother? What brother? Never heard of the Washan leader having any brothers. Don't talk nonsense, I have no brothers. As soon as the words were spoken, Yu Bukchun reacted and looked at Xiao Jian pleadingly. Master Xiao, please be merciful and merciful. Enough people have died today. The inner demon guide is yours. From now on, I, Yu Bukchun, will never be your enemy again. How about ending this matter? Now, in addition to worrying about Xiao Jian taking action against him, he was even more afraid that his old background would be dug out. If people knew that the dignified head of the Washan sect had committed suicide in order to improve his strength. The Washan sect has become a joke in the world, eternally nailed to the pillar of shame. And he, Yu Bukchun, is the sinner of the entire Washan mountain. Xiao Jian had a sarcastic look on his face. Forget it. When you incited everyone to attack me, why didn't you forget it? Yu Bukchun looked horrified, unless he could kill Xiao Jian immediately. Otherwise, the secret is in Xiao Jian's hands, and he can tell it at any time. But there is nothing he can do. Murong Fu and Xiao Jian were enemies, and what would happen in the end? Yu Bukchun saw it from beginning to end. The result would be worse than death. Is it his turn now? Yu Bukchun could only continue to beg. Master Xiao, I know I was wrong. What do you want me to do to let you go? Xiao Jian said lightly. What to do? Just commit suicide. Yu Bukchun froze. The whole person felt sluggish. It was as if someone had suddenly drained him of his energy. Although Zan Ku didn't know what Xiao Jian and Yu Bukchun were talking about. However, it is certain that Yu Bukchun has something that falls into Xiao Jian's hands. Seeing Yu Bukchun being forced by Xiao Jian, he lost all fighting spirit. He hurriedly opened his mouth to persuade. Headmaster Yu, he just broke through to become a grandmaster. What are you afraid of? The worst we can do is fight him. If the three of us work together, we can take a bite out of him. 3 grandmasters, plus his peak cultivation level as a grandmaster. I won't suffer this humiliation. Yu Bukchun smiled bitterly. What happened during this time came to mind. The corners of his mouth became increasingly bitter. Suddenly, Yu Bukchun stabbed his neck with the long sword in his hand. He shouted, Master Xiao, remember, you promised me. Then he ended his life with a long sword. It was so fast that Zan Ku and Zhao He didn't even react. He stared straight at Yu Bukchun's fallen head and froze on the spot. Everyone except Xiao Jian was stunned. There was a chill in my heart. Xiao Jian asked Yu Bukchun to commit suicide, but Yu Bukchun committed suicide just like that. The head of a sect and a great master died like this. Zan Ku and Zhao He were shocked and immediately turned around and ran away. When Yu Bukchun was alive, none of the 3 could defeat Xiao Jian. Now there is no need to think about the 2 of them. If you want to run away, you would be disrespecting me. Xiao Jian snorted coldly. The figure disappeared instantly. When he reappeared, he was already standing in front of Zan Ku. Go to hell. Zan Ku's eyes were about to burst, and he punched Xiao Jian's chest fiercely. Don't overestimate your capabilities. Xiao Jian's palms flew, and all the powerful Vajra palms were printed on Zan Ku's chest. Beat his sternum to pieces. The whole person flew out like a piece of rag. And then without even looking at it, he dodged and stood in front of Zhao He again. What are you going to do? I am the elder of the Sun Moon God sect. Zhao He almost peed in fear. Zan Ku, the peak master, was killed in the blink of an eye. Not to mention him. It is completely impossible to be Xiao Jian's opponent. Xiao Jian snorted disdainfully and slapped him on the forehead with his backhand. Kill with one blow. At this point, all those who caused trouble for Xiao Jian have been dealt with. The remaining people in the beauty manor looked at Xiao Jian in horror. The white-haired immortal's expression changed, and he suddenly picked up the golden coffin and ran away. He doesn't care about his master's demeanor at all. The numb speed prevented everyone from slowing down for a while. Run away. He ran away. Li Hanyi was stunned. The white-haired immortal is the protector of heaven. He is considered a top-notch expert in the entire Bili. Just ran away. But his timing was perfect. While everyone was shocked by Xiao Jian. Just pick up the coffin and run away. Without hesitation. In this way, the golden coffin was taken away by the white-haired fairy. Except for Xiao Jian, who gained a lot, the others could only return empty-handed. The worst things are those who are enemies of Xiao Jian. A mass of casualties. Murong Fu, the only one alive, was worse off than alive. He was stupid, and was taken away from this place by Wang Yuyan and the 4 generals. Qin Shuang shook her head helplessly. During this trip, the 3 of them had the strongest lineup, but unfortunately they didn't get anything. Not only did he not get the inner demon guide, he didn't even get any news about the clay bodhisattva. You will inevitably be punished when you go back. Xiao Jian glanced in Ling'er's direction, and then disappeared in front of everyone. Seeing Xiao Jian leaving, everyone breathed a sigh of relief and dispersed. Not long after, the bustling beauty village was deserted. Only Li Hanyi and Xiao Ling were left. Suddenly, Xiao Jian's figure suddenly appeared in front of the 2 of them. Elder brother. As soon as Ling'er saw Xiao Jian, she immediately rushed forward and hugged Xiao Jian tightly without letting go. I knew my brother would never leave me alone. Xiao Jian smiled and nodded, trying to comfort Ling'er. In the next few days, Xiao Jian stayed in Bili to spend some time with Ling'er. A peaceful day passed, but Zhonghu was shaken by it. The state of a master at the age of 17 has never been heard of in 1,000 years. What's more, Xiao Jian also killed nearly 100 people in the Zhonghu. What's even more frightening is that among these nearly 100 people, there are only 3 who have started innately and reached the Grand Master level, including the elders of the Sun Moon sect and the head of the Washan sect. One of them is the head of the Ming Shaolin Temple, and the master is at the peak of his cultivation. He had completely offended the largest sect in the Ming dynasty, Haimuya, Sun and Moon God sect. A group of elders sat in the lobby with ugly expressions, looking at Zhao He's corpse in front of them and shouting non-stop. This Jin Yiwei is so deceptive. He even dares to kill Elder Zhao of our Sun Moon God sect. That's right, this is because you don't take the Sun Moon God sect seriously at all. We must get rid of him as soon as possible before he grows up. I agree. The court must be taught a lesson. Everyone said something to me, and they were very angry. The whole hall was filled with condemnation. Shang Wenshan tapped the table next to him with his finger. So, which one of you got rid of him? For a moment, the angry crowd was speechless. The scene was very embarrassing. It was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Shang Wenshan glanced around, but no one dared to look at him. Afraid of being called out by Shang Wenshan to deal with Xiao Jian. Snapped. Shang Wenshan looked at the people dodging around and slapped his hand on the table. Everyone was shocked. A lot of nonsense. Who of you is going to deal with that Jin Yiwei? Everyone lowered their heads, as if something on the ground was attracting them. Gao Qi, didn't you keep saying you wanted to kill Xiao Jian before? Why didn't you say anything? Shang Wenshan started to name names directly. The Gao Qinai he calls as a master at the peak of his master's level. Ranked among the 5th elders. In terms of strength, he is above Zhao He. However, due to Zhao He's high qualifications, he was ranked 3rd at the elder's seat. Gao Qi's face stiffened. He said with a smile, Shang Zuo, my cultivation has improved a little recently, and I am preparing to retreat to the realm of the Great Master. Everyone looked unbelieving. The look he looked at Gao Qi was full of contempt. Grand Master, how can it be so easy to break through to the Grand Master? In the entire Sun Moon sect, only the leader Dongfang Bubai is certain to have reached the Grand Master level. The remaining people are at the highest level of Grand Master. Gao Qi obviously didn't want to confront Xiao Jian. After all, Xiao Jian's strength is so unpredictable that he even defeated the Zan Ku of Shaolin Temple. That's a master at the pinnacle level of a Grand Master. Without absolute certainty, who would dare to take this job? Shang Wenshan also knew this and just glared at Gao Qi hatefully. After pondering for a moment, he said, if the leader of Shaolin Temple dies, he will definitely not give up. Let's just wait and see. Everyone raised their hands in unison. Zuo Envoy is wise. What a wise ass. Shang Wenshan cursed in his heart. If there was a way, I would have killed him long ago. On the other side, the Ming Shaolin Temple. Abbot Xuanxi and a group of fellow disciples were chanting sutras in the main hall. The bursts of Sanskrit sounds are intoxicating. Suddenly, a loud bell rang. Breaking this peaceful scene. Abbot, it's not good, Master Shuenku has passed away. A novice monk suddenly ran in a panic, shouting non-stop. The heads of people in the hall suddenly exploded. He will never look like the eminent monk he once was. What? Junior brother Shuenku actually passed away? Impossible. Junior brother is the master's peak cultivation level, how can he pass away so easily? Whose disciple do you belong to? Don't talk nonsense. Faced with the accusations from all the masters and uncles, the novice monk had a bitter look on his face. He said sadly, "Uncle Master, this matter has been confirmed. Uncle Shuenku's body is outside." Hearing this, Xuanqi's eyes showed sadness. He stood up and walked slowly out of the palace. The leaders also followed suit. Outside the main hall, Zanku's body was placed on the ground, with monks sitting around it. He was reciting salvation scriptures in his mouth. The scene is sad and solemn. Zansi sat down slowly and started to recite along. After a long time, as the scripture ended, Zansi asked about the cause of the matter. The monk told everything. What? It was the Jinyue of the Ming dynasty who did it. It's too much. I've known for a long time that none of the Jinyue are good people. This time, I must go to Jinling to find Jigang to give an explanation. If I don't take revenge, people in the martial arts world will think that my Shaolin temple is easy to bully. The heads shouted indignantly. Hey, Zansi sighed and said slowly, let's discuss this matter later. The scene was quiet in an instant. Brother, the court has already bullied Shaolin, how can we let it go? Zan Nan, the head of Damo Academy, said indignantly. Since ancient times, Shaolin has always been a leader in the martial arts world. No one from any force has ever dared to bully them. Even the court has to give them some face. The killing of the chief monk was unprecedented. Zansi looked at Zanku's body, unable to hide the sadness on his face. Shaking his head and sighing, junior brother Zanku was killed by Jinyue Xiaojian in the process of fighting for the Heart Demon lead. This is a grudge in the martial arts world. Wouldn't it be ridiculed by the martial arts world if you go to Jinling to seek justice? There will be a time to settle accounts with Xiaojian in the future. The rules of the martial arts world, the affairs of the martial arts world, the martial arts world. If you can't beat him and suffer a loss, you have to admit it. Moreover, Xiaojian is already a master. Which force should not protect a 17-year-old master well? How could the court hand him over so easily? If Shaolin Temple really wants to come to seek justice, it may also let the Ming Dynasty court find a reason to deal with Shaolin Temple. No matter what you do, you will not gain an advantage. This is the reason why Zansi did not let Zan Nan go to Jinling. The leaders looked at each other in bewilderment. They could only give up. At the same time, Washan sect, Sigyu Cliff. Lingu Chong's figure flashed, and the long sword in his hand practiced extremely brilliant sword moves. Each move was mysterious and incomprehensible. An old man with a white beard sat on the rocks next to him, looking at Lingu Chong's figure, with a flash of admiration in his eyes. He kept nodding. This old man was the only senior of Washan sect, Feng Qingyang. Some time ago, he discovered Lingu Chong, a good seedling, and wanted to pass on his skills. So he passed the Dugu 9 swords to Lingu Chong. Lingu Chong did not disappoint, and in a short time he had practiced the Dugu 9 swords to the entry level. Although Lingu Chong's realm is a little lower now, he has only entered the innate cultivation level. But with this sword technique in hand, he will definitely have a place among the young generation of geniuses in the future. Lingu Chong put away his sword and stood up. Just as he was about to thank his uncle, Feng Qingyang looked down the mountain. He said solemnly, "The swordsmanship I taught you must not be used in front of others unless it is absolutely necessary. Also, you are not allowed to spread my existence." After saying that, Feng Qingyang's figure suddenly disappeared from the spot. When Lingu Chong reacted, there were only empty rocks in front of him. He looked around, but there was no trace of Feng Qingyang. At this moment, a disciple ran down the mountain panting. "Big brother, it's bad. Master is in trouble. Go to the headmaster's hall and take a look." Lingu Chong's face changed. He used his body skills to run down the mountain. After the two left, Feng Qingyang's figure suddenly appeared on the rocks again. He sighed with a complicated expression. With his cultivation, nothing can be hidden from him when he goes down the mountain. However, he has sealed his sword for many years. Even if the head of Washan died, he would not come out of the mountain. Unless Washan was facing a life or death situation, he would not intervene. Lingu Chong hurried to the headmaster's hall. At this time, the hall had already been set up with a mourning hall. White cloth was hung all over the hall. Seeing this scene, Lingu Chong's heart sank. Master's wife, what happened? When Lingu Chong saw the coffin in the hall, he felt a bad feeling in his heart. Chonger, your master is gone. What? Lingu Chong almost fell down. How is this possible? What happened? His master had just broken through the Grandmaster realm. How could he suddenly die when he was full of vigor and vitality? At that moment, a disciple told all the news he heard. Lingu Chong's face became more and more ugly. Impossible, how could master commit suicide? Lingu Chong could not accept this fact. No one in Washan sect could accept this fact either. Big brother, this is what happened. Many people saw it at the time. It was Jinyue Xiaojian who forced master to commit suicide. The disciple said cautiously. Ning Zongs, with red eyes, stepped forward to comfort Lingu Chong. Chonger, this has already happened. The most important thing now is to succeed the position of the head of the sect. And bring your master's body back to Washan for funeral. Washan sent only Yu Bukchun to Bili, so there was not even a disciple to collect the body. Lingu Chong nodded with difficulty. Master's wife, don't worry. Lingu Chong swears not to be a human being if he doesn't take revenge. The horses in the rivers and lakes are fast. The story of Bili spread all over the world. The reputation of Jinyue Xiaojian spread far and wide. Some secretly hated him, and some despised him. But no one dared to seek revenge on Xiaojian. Didn't you see that Nan Marong was made into a fool? Everyone was waiting for the reaction of Shaolin and the Sun and Moon Church. In such an environment, Xiaojian returned to Jinling. From the moment he entered the city gate, people who saw Xiaojian cast awe-inspiring glance. They could not help but make way for him, fearing that he would block Xiaojian's way. When he arrived at the Jinyue Beijunfu Yamen, the scene in front of him made Xiaojian's eyelids twitch. Zhang Zhen led people to greet him carefully at the gate. Hundreds of Jinyue lined up on both sides, and the lineup was extremely solemn. Sir, what is this? Xiaojian pointed at the Jinyue on the left and right and asked. Zhang Zhen winked at everyone, and all the Jinyue immediately shouted loudly, "Welcome Sir Xiao back to Beijing." The loud voice shook the ground. Most of the people in Jinling heard this voice. Xiaojian's mouth twitched. Sir, is this too much? He was just 1,000 households, and those who didn't know would think he was going to rebel. Zhang Zhen laughed and said, but, not at all, you deserve it. Over the years, with the expansion of the power of the underworld, the influence of the Jinyue has become weaker and weaker. There are unstable forces in various parts of the Ming dynasty. The major sects pretended to obey but secretly disobeyed. This also led to the court needing to arrange a large number of people to suppress it. The Jinyue was seriously short of manpower. The appearance of Xiaojian gave the upper echelons of the Jinyue hope. Zhang Zhen suddenly approached Xiaojian and said in his ear, "The master above is inside, and he specifically wants to see you." Xiaojian's eyes flashed. Above. The one who can make Zhang Zhen say above must not be a simple character. He nodded cautiously and came to the main hall of the Northern Pacification Division under the leadership of Zhang Zhen. As soon as they approached the hall, the four Jinyue standing next to them stared at the two with sharp eyes. When they saw Zhang Zhen and Xiaojian, they retracted their scrutiny. Under the leadership of Zhang Zhen, Xiaojian walked into the hall. As soon as they entered, Ji Gang's figure came into view. Sitting behind the desk, he calmly wrote. Wearing a python robe, he looked majestic. Just sitting there, he gave people a feeling of being on the edge of an abyss. The mind couldn't help but be attracted by it. In the hall, the atmosphere was inexplicably depressing. Ji Gang didn't speak, and Xiaojian and Zhang Zhen didn't want to disturb him. Standing quietly waiting for Ji Gang to speak. After a long time, Ji Gang finally finished writing, put down his pen and looked at Xiaojian. His eyes were full of appreciation, and he smiled. Not bad, not bad, young people nowadays are getting better and better. Xiaojian said calmly, "Thank you for your praise, sir. I am ashamed that I failed to retrieve the Heart Demon Guide." Ji Gang smiled and said calmly, it is already very remarkable that I can kill Zan Ku and Zhao He of the Sun and Moon sect by myself. As for the Heart Demon Guide, if you don't have it, then you don't have it. After all, the white-haired immortal is the peak of the old generation of masters. It is normal that he can't catch up if he wants to run. As for Yu Bukchun, Ji Gang didn't mention it. It was like a cat or a dog next to him, and he didn't care at all. Xiao Jian bowed and said, "Thank you for your understanding." He had learned the Heart Demon Guide, but he was not going to explain it. After all, it was about how he got it, and it was hard to explain. Ji Gang nodded, and suddenly stared at Xiao Jian with a sharp look. He said in a deep voice, "I want you to take on an important task, do you dare to accept it?" Hearing Ji Gang's words, Xiao Jian's face became serious. Important task. It seems that Ji Gang's personal trip is not without purpose. That's true, how can the commander of the Jinyue do something without a purpose? Xiao Jian said in a deep voice, "If you have any tasks, just tell me." Hearing this, Ji Gang laughed and said, "Not bad, young man, don't be arrogant or impatient." However, he didn't say what the task was specifically, but stood with his hands behind his back and sighed. It's not easy for the court these years. The forces such as the Sun and Moon Divine Sect and the Tianxiahui are ready to move, and they have the intention of competing for the Central Plains. Other sects are also restless when seeing this, and there are many who annex each other. The court has long been unable to do it. The Jinyue urgently needs to suppress the current chaos in the rivers and lakes. This calms people's hearts. The highest level of martial artists walking in the martial arts world is the Grandmaster level. It is rare to see a master of the Grandmaster level. This is also the tacit understanding between the court and the major martial arts sects. Xiao Jian was able to fight against many people alone and kill Zan Ku, the peak Grandmaster, which gave Ji Gang hope. I'm going to let you rectify those disobedient martial arts sects. Do you dare to go? Ji Gang didn't stop until he said something shocking, and he threw out this sentence directly. Xiao Jian's eyes lit up. Rectifying the martial arts sects will inevitably cause disputes. And this is a great opportunity for him to harvest martial arts fragments. After entering the Grandmaster level, if you want to improve your strength, you must go through a lot of battles. Isn't the opportunity now delivered to your door? Xiao Jian's mind turned quickly, and he said loudly, "Don't worry, sir, I will not fail my mission." Okay. Ji Gang showed a happy expression, clapped his hands, and took out a golden token from his arms. After handing it to Xiao Jian, he said, "This is my token. Whenever you need it, you can mobilize the Jinyue of the whole prefecture with this token. I will allow you to act at your own discretion." Beside him, Zhang Zhen took a breath of cold air. Mobilize the Jinyue of the whole prefecture. And the right to act at your own discretion. This power is too great. In an ordinary prefecture, the Jinyue has at least 1,000 households. Even the smallest 1,000 households have hundreds of Jinyue. This is still considered a small number. If it is an important prefecture, the 1,000 households are in charge of the Grandmaster level. The 1,000 households below must all be innate cultivation. Calculated in this way, 1 Grandmaster, 10 innates, thousands of warriors. It can be used to slaughter a clan. Except for the top martial arts sects and first-class forces. In the territory of the Ming dynasty, you can walk sideways. Xiao Jian raised his eyebrows, took the gold medal, and saluted Ji Gang carefully. "I will not let you down." After getting Xiao Jian's reply, Ji Gang nodded, then threw his cloak and turned to leave. The Jinyue outside the hall immediately cleared the way. After Ji Gang left, the atmosphere in the hall eased. Zhang Zhen took a deep breath and turned to look at Xiao Jian with envy. I knew Xiao Jian would be successful, but I didn't expect him to be successful so soon. He was very successful. The commander's token, Xiao Jian had to take out the token, and even he had to obey. Xiao Jian looked at Ji Gang's back, and a solemn look flashed in his eyes. Ji Gang was an old fox in the court. There was no reason to give him such great authority easily. If he said that he didn't think deeply, Xiao Jian would never believe it. But this job was too much for Xiao Jian. No matter what conspiracy Ji Gang had, Xiao Jian had to take it. Improving strength was the most important thing. When his strength was improved to the Grandmaster level, even Ji Gang couldn't do anything to him. The next day, the Jinling North Pacification Division issued a notice. Xiao Jian officially served as the commander-in-chief of the Jinyue. He was a fourth-rank official. This position was chosen by Ji Gang himself. There were no specific functions or tasks. The only goal was to rectify the martial arts sects. Ji Gang didn't care what to do or how to do it. He just wanted the result. As long as Xiao Jian could shock the major sects in the martial arts world as a Jinyue. As for the rest, Ji Gang didn't care at all. Because it was about Xiao Jian, the news of this announcement spread quickly. Except for those top sects, other small sects were shocked. Xiao Jian's name has been widely spread in the martial arts world. Beilajing once killed hundreds of Shantian by himself, even including the 3 great masters. In most sects, Shantian is already the top combat power. As for the Grand Master realm, it can only be found in the first-class sects. Xiao Jian's cultivation can completely crush them. And now, the court actually asked Xiao Jian to rectify the martial arts sects. Hearing this news, many sects have restrained themselves, fearing that Xiao Jian would come to them. At the same time, the martial arts world is still waiting for the reaction of Shaolin and Sun Moon sect. After all, Xiao Jian killed their grandmasters, and it is unknown how these 2 major forces will deal with Xiao Jian. However, before they could start, everyone received news about the exquisite chess game. Mr. Su Xinghe, a conscientious man, sent out invitations to young talents from all walks of life to go to Legushan to play chess. At that time, a grandmaster's inheritance will be born. As the most famous genius of the younger generation, Xiao Jian naturally received the invitation. Are you preparing to set up a Junlong chess game? Xiao Jian played with the invitation in his hand. A smile appeared in his eyes. I was worried about which sect to start with, so I might as well go out and take a look. Moreover, it was related to Wuyizi's inheritance, so there would be a big battle at that time. The upgrade of the Grandmaster realm required a lot of internal force. Xiao Jian pulled out his attribute panel. Name: Xiao Jian. Age: 17. Kung Fu: the first chapter of the Divine Elephant Prison Power, 236 Giant Elephant Particles. Martial Arts: Perfect Vajra Palm, small success of Wind God Leg, small success of Cloud Pulling Palm, small success of Do Zhuan Xingyi, small success of Tian Shuang Quan, small success of Heart Demon Attraction, small success of 18 Dragon Subduing Palms. Martial Arts Experience: 0. Internal Force: 0. Realm: Grandmaster Realm Level 1. Looking at the empty internal force value, Xiao Jian was a little uncomfortable. After entering the Grandmaster level, 10,000 points of internal force are required to upgrade to the next level. If you want to improve your strength, you must not slack off. Xiao Jian quickly set foot on the road to Legushan. At the same time, the eyes of many forces also fell on Legushan. Sun Moon Divine Sect, Shaolin Temple and other forces have sent elite disciples. And the leaders are all absolute high-level people in the sect. The monks of Shaolin Temple are led by Zan Nan, the head of the Bodhisattva Academy. As the head of the Bodhisattva Academy, Zan Nan has reached the peak of the Grandmaster level. And he has been in this realm for many years. As long as he seizes an opportunity, it is only a matter of time to enter the realm of Grandmaster. The leader of the Sun Moon Divine Sect is Shang Wenshan, the left envoy. The same peak Grandmaster cultivation. As the second person in the Sun Moon Divine Sect, his cultivation is not inferior to Zan Nan. The inheritance of the Grandmaster is about to be born, and no force can ignore it. For a while, the martial arts world was turbulent. Legu Mountain, under the cliff of thousands of feet. The valley that was usually deserted was actually crowded with people at this time. People from various forces occupied a corner respectively, and they seemed to be clearly divided from each other. Su Xinghe sat beside the chessboard, and from time to time someone came forward to challenge him. But they were all cannon fodder, and none of the real geniuses ended up quietly looking for loopholes in the chess game. HMPH, if you don't go, I'll do it. A Tibetan monk stepped forward and sat opposite Su Xinghe. It's the great wheel king Jiamoji. Someone who knew him screamed. During this period, if Xiao Jian is the most popular person in the younger generation, then the Great Wheel King is the most popular person in the previous generation. No one else. Not only did he break into the Tianlong Temple of Ligyu alone, he also challenged the 6 great monks of Tianlong Temple. He also captured the Prince of Dali, Duan Yu, alive under the protection of the monks. His strength is extraordinary. Before the great wheel King Jiamoji moved his chess piece, a shout came from outside the cliff. Xingqiu old immortal, boundless power. Great magical power, driving the Dharma to the central plains. Enjoy immortal blessings forever, longevity as long as the sky. This arrogance made everyone frown. Looking up, a group of people were carrying a sedan chair and walking towards the valley. There was a white-haired old man lying on the sedan chair. This man was the Xingqiu old monster who had recently become notorious. He liked others to flatter him the most. And he killed people without blinking an eye. In terms of strength, many people present could suppress him. But the most feared thing about Xingqiu old monster was his poisonous skill. All martial artists in the world hated him. Ha 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 ha, senior brother, why didn't you notify me when master's inheritance was born? Xingqiu old monster laughed, and then flew from the sedan chair and appeared in front of Su Xinghe. Jiamoji frowned and said, "My benefactor, I haven't made a move yet. Would you mind waiting for a while?" He was still in a hurry to play chess and get the inheritance of the Grand Master. Why did the old monster Xingqiu come out to make trouble? Heard of this, the old monster Xingqiu looked at Jiamoji and laughed strangely. "This is the inheritance of my master. What good things do you want? Go." After saying this, a cloud of smoke spread out from his hand and rushed straight towards Jiamoji. Jiamoji's face changed drastically, and his body retreated instantly. When the disciples of Xingqiu sect saw that their ancestor had the upper hand, they immediately shouted. Xingqiu old immortal, boundless magic power. Great magical power, driving the law to the central plains. Enjoy immortal blessings forever, and live as long as the sky. Jiamoji's face was livid, but the poison of the old monster Xingqiu was really tricky. If he got into trouble in the battle with him, he would not have a chance to inherit the Grand Master. You must know that there are many people waiting for them to lose. He could only put his palms together and suppress his anger. Xingqiu old monster sneered and said to Su Xinghe, "Where did you hide the master's inheritance? Hand it over." Su Xinghe remained silent. Wu Yizi was harmed by Xingqiu old monster, so how could Su Xinghe hand over the inheritance to him? He could only point to the chessboard and Jiamoji, and signal Xingqiu old monster to line up obediently behind him. This scene made Xingqiu old monster furious. He was rampant in the martial arts world, but he didn't know what rules were. Ha ha ha, line up. You actually asked me to line up. Xingqiu old monster laughed. I'll stay here. If anyone wants to break the chess game, come up by yourself. After saying that, he looked around provocatively. Xuanan and Shang Wenshan frowned, but they didn't have the slightest intention of taking action. If the Grand Master's inheritance is not revealed, there is no point in them taking action. If there is any damage, it will only benefit people from other sects. Ha ha ha, the old monster Xingqiu laughed wildly. He grasped the mentality of these people, so he was so bold. Seeing his ancestor so majestic, his disciples shouted even more arrogantly. Xingqiu old immortal, boundless magic power. Great magical power, driving the law to the central plains. Enjoy the immortal blessing forever, and live as long as the sky. At this moment, Xiaojian arrived at the valley. A majestic flying fish suit looks very majestic on Xiaojian. Coupled with his master's demeanor, people can feel a sense of power from the bottom of their hearts. The disciples of Xingqiu sect were at the outside and were the first to see Xiaojian. As a result, they were distracted by Xiaojian's aura, and even the shouting became sparse. Not only did he not have any aura, but he looked a little funny. This scene attracted everyone to look at it, and when Xiaojian's figure came into view, everyone was stunned. Xiaojian, it turned out to be him. Now the masters of Shaolin Temple and Sun Moon Sect are all here. Xiaojian dared to come alone. Wasn't he afraid that the people from Shaolin and the Sun and Moon Sect would cause trouble for him? When the old monster Xingqiu saw that it was actually a young Jinyue, he lost face. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes. The look he gave Xiaojian became dangerous. Boy, how dare you ruin the good deeds of the ancestor? The original intention of the old monster Xingqiu was to take advantage of this opportunity to force out the inheritance of Wu Yizi. As a result, Xiaojian ruined the atmosphere, and in anger, he slapped Xiaojian with a poisonous palm. The black poisonous fog filled the air, causing everyone to frown and step back a few steps. They all looked at Xiao Jian. You don't know whether to live or die. Xiao Jian waved his big hand with an indifferent expression, and used Dozhuan Xingyi to collect all the poisonous fog in his palm. Then he slapped the disciples of the old monster Xingshou. The poisonous fog dispersed, and the disciples of the Xingshou sect screamed. In an instant, a small half of them died. The old monster Xingshou almost vomited blood, using his poison against his disciples as a slap in the face. Everyone looked at each other. I couldn't help but cheer for Xiao Jian in my heart. The reputation of this Xingshou sect in the world is really bad. But Xingshou old monster is very powerful and ruthless, so no one will offend him for no reason. This also made him more arrogant. Today I met my opponent. Shaolin Temple Xuanan and Shang Wenshan looked at each other, with a trace of solemnity flashing on their faces. Old monster Xingshou is a veteran master, and he also has a weird poison skill. Even facing them is tricky. Xiao Jian was so light that he suffered a loss. It's really amazing. Boy, you are so brave, you actually dare to attack the disciples of the ancestor, tell me your name. Old monster Xingshou used extremely elegant Qinggong to arrive in front of Xiao Jian in the blink of an eye. He looked murderous. Several system prompts came from Xiao Jian's mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the fragments of the transformation technique and automatically comprehending the transformation technique. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the fragments of the 10,000 Poisons Sutra and automatically comprehending the 10,000 Poisons Sutra. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the internal energy fragments, the internal energy value is +100. Xiao Jian raised the corner of his mouth. This transformation method and the 10,000 Poisons Sutra are the unique skills of the old monster Xingshou. It is precisely because of his poisonous skills that he is feared. If the toxins were removed, Xingshou's martial arts would only be considered top-notch at best. Now that Xiao Jian has learned the great technique of transforming Gong and the 10,000 Poisons Sutra, the poison of old monster Xingshou is to him no threat whatsoever. What's more, he also has the Dozhuan Xing shift to protect his body. Xiao Jian looked coldly at the old monster Xingshou in front of him. Two words came out of his mouth, Xiao Jian. Xiao Jian. Old monster Xingshou was shocked. Xiao Jian's name is well known to everyone recently. Not to mention his identity, his strength alone cannot be underestimated. Even the top masters of Shaolin Temple died in his hands. In addition, Xiao Jian just broke his poison skill casually. Thinking of this, old monster Xingshou suddenly backed down. Xiao Jian has become famous recently, but old monster Xingshou only heard of his name but never met him. I only heard that Xiao Jian was 1 against 100 when he was in the Shantian realm, and there were 3 Grand Master realms among them. Even the masters of Shaolin Temple and Sun Moon sect were killed by him. A complete god of death. More evil than him. At that time, Xiao Jian was still in the Shantian realm. Now Xiao Jian has entered the Grand Master realm. No one knows the extent of its strength. Xingshou old monster felt a bit frightened just by sensing it a little bit. Suppressing the surprise in his heart, old monster Xingshou laughed. It turns out that he is the #1 hero of the younger generation, and he truly deserves his reputation. Ancestor appreciates talents the most. Forget about today's affairs, I will treat you as an ancestor. Everyone around him almost fell down. They were preparing to watch a show, but old monster Xingshou said this. What to appreciate talent? What a brag about not drafting. The old monster Xingshou always has no scruples when killing people. Even the young, old, women and children were killed without fail. Now he laughed after being slapped in the face by Xiao Jian, without any intention of taking action. Could it be that Xiao Jian's strength is so strong that even veteran masters like Xingshou Laoguai are afraid of him? Shang Wenshan's eyelids twitched, and Xiao Jian's expression became serious. Old monster Xingshou didn't save any face for them just now. Now he is so open-minded towards Xiao Jian. To them, it was quite ironic. Xiao Jian smiled contemptuously at the old monster Xingshou, with a flash of sarcasm in his eyes. You don't care about it, but I still care about it. The Xingshou sect has done many evil things and killed innocent people indiscriminately. They should be punished for their crimes. The sonorous sound spread throughout the valley, and the murderous intent in the words made everyone's hearts tremble. Xiao Jian, what does this mean? Do you want to uproot the Xingshou sect? Thinking back to Jin Yiwei's announcement, everyone suddenly felt something bad. Xuan'an's eyes flashed, staring at Xiao Jian closely. If what he expected was true, Jin Yiwei might be making big moves. Xiao Jian's exceptional promotion and the recent announcement from Jin Yiwei all foreshadow this. Is Ji Gang going to use Xiao Jian's sword to deal with people in the world? Xuan'an felt inexplicably frightened. He looked at Xiang Wenshan meaningfully. Then he silently shifted his gaze, as if nothing had happened. Both of them stared at Xiao Jian to see what he was going to do next. Xiao Jian stared at old monster Xingshou with murderous intent, making him freeze. His face was distorted. Xiao Jian, ancestor doesn't care anymore, don't go too far. When had he, the old immortal Xingshou, ever been so angry? Others have always been afraid of him and avoided him. No one dared to trouble him yet. Even the people from the Sun Moon sect and the Shaolin Temple gave him 3 points just now. A mere guard in uniform actually glared at him. Xiao Jian glanced at the entire audience with cold eyes. At this time, everyone was looking here, as if watching the fun. What attracted his most attention was the Shaolin Temple and the Sun Moon God sect. The leader is extremely powerful, and has a vague feeling of being integrated into the world. If the Grandmaster realm is to tap into one's own potential, then the Grandmaster realm is to take advantage of the power of heaven and earth. Compared to the peak of the Grandmaster, it is more than 10 times stronger. And these two people vaguely touched this threshold. Their strength should never be underestimated. Xiao Jian's eyes fell on the Xingshou old monster and sneered. Excessive, there are more excessive ones. After saying that, he slapped the Xingshou old monster with one palm. The powerful Vajra palm slapped out and faced the Xingshou old monster with one palm. The violent collision sound echoed in the valley. Even with the power transformation method, the Xingshou old monster was still knocked back more than 10 steps by Xiao Jian's palm. The Xingshou old monster was startled, and then laughed loudly, looking like a successful plan. Ha 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 ha, young people are young people, and they dare to fight with me. They really don't know how to live or die. The disciples of the Xingshou sect heard their ancestor say this and immediately shouted. Xingshou old monster, the power is boundless. Great magical power, the law rides in the central plains. Enjoy the immortal's blessing forever, and live as long as the sky. A look of victory. The people around sighed. I thought Xiao Jian could teach Xingshou old monster a lesson, but he was hit as soon as he came. The most powerful thing about Xingshou old monster is not martial arts, but various poisons. There is poison everywhere on his body. Even the internal force contains poison. Ordinary people will be poisoned as long as they have contact with him. The end is miserable. Xiao Jian glanced at Xingshou old monster indifferently and rushed up again. The two fought more and more fiercely. Even though Xingshou old monster has the method of transforming power, Xiao Jian seems to be unaffected. The internal force is endless, and wave after wave of martial arts makes Xingshou old monster suffer. In less than 10 moves, Xingshou old monster couldn't hold on, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. This was before Xiao Jian tried his best. Xingshou old monster endured his internal injuries and shouted. Stop now, you have been poisoned by the ancestor. If you keep fighting, the poison will attack your heart. But Xiao Jian seemed not to hear it. He still did not stop, but fought harder and harder. Xingshou old monster did not even have the energy to speak. He could only try his best to support and wait for Xiao Jian's poison to take effect. Xiang Wenshan looked puzzled. Xiao Jian did not look like he was poisoned at all. And he fought with ease, even those top martial arts that everyone knew were useless. And what about the Xingshou old monster on the opposite side? He was beaten to the point of spitting blood and retreating repeatedly, looking in a miserable state. Is his strength so strong? Xiang Wenshan muttered to himself. Even if he faced Xingshou old monster, he would not dare to say that he was as easy as Xiao Jian. After all, Xingshou old monster's poison was still quite annoying. Zan Nan stared at Xiao Jian's palms. If he was not mistaken, it was the perfect level of the Vajra palm. Even if he searched the entire Shaolin Temple, he probably couldn't find a person who could practice the Vajra palm to the perfect level. Even if he specialized in the Vajra palm for more than 30 years, he was only able to achieve great success now. If he wanted to go further, it would be impossible without some opportunities. After the two of them exchanged more than 10 moves, the old monster Xingqiu was already horrified. It was said that Xiao Jian was about to die from the poison, but why didn't the poison appear now? And Xiao Jian's free and easy appearance completely destroyed the old monster Xingqiu's psychology. He couldn't help but beg for mercy. Xiao, you won, let me go. Let you go. You have done so many evil things, today is your death day. Xiao Jian said in a cold tone. This made the old monster Xingqiu feel desperate. But under Xiao Jian's attack, he didn't have any chance to fight back at all. Suddenly, Xiao Jian raised the corner of his mouth slightly. He slapped Xingqiu old monster on the chest. This blow seemed to have no power to outsiders, but it made Xingqiu old monster shudder. Energy transformation technique, you. Feeling the loss of internal energy in his body, Xingqiu old monster's eyes were horrified. But he was controlled by Xiao Jian, and before he could finish a sentence, he died from his famous skills. Seeing Xingqiu old monster fall to Xiao Jian's feet without any breath, everyone looked at each other. Xingqiu old monster, who just made Shaolin Temple and Sun Moon sect lose their temper, died just like that. For a moment, everyone was stunned, and some couldn't come back to their senses. The disciples of Xingqiu sect reacted first, and they scattered in an instant. They all ran away. Xiao Jian turned his head and looked, with murderous intent in his eyes. These people followed Xingqiu old monster and did a lot of evil. Since we have met him, we must eradicate all the evil. With a thought, Xiao Jian disappeared from the spot. The screams of Xingqiu disciples came from afar, instantly waking up the people who were stunned. What is Xiao Jian doing? How dare he kill innocent people? How presumptuous! He killed so many people when he left Bili, and he is still killing people like this after returning to Daming. This is a sign of being possessed by a demon. Seeing Xiao Jian kill all the people in Xingqiu sect, people from all sects began to criticize him. In just a few minutes, dozens of Xingqiu disciples died. When Xiao Jian came back, he was full of murderous aura, like a killing god. Wherever he looked, he silenced the martial artists there. For a moment, he was unparalleled in power. The people who were discussing were shocked. They all shut up and said nothing. Zan Nan chanted the Buddha's name, his face full of compassion. He questioned Xiao Jian. Master Xiao, your murderous intent is too strong, isn't it? You killed dozens of lives just like that. Xiao Jian looked at Xuanan and sneered. The Xingqiu sect has done many evil things, why don't you see your compassion and protect all sentient beings? What bothers him the most is this kind of guy who is full of calculations under the banner of compassion. In the final analysis, Xuanan is still for his own benefit. Otherwise, how could old monster Xingqiu be allowed to show off his evil deeds here? Xuanan was scolded by Xiao Jian and looked a little worried. He opened his mouth and said, Old monster Xingqiu's evil deeds are punished, but not all disciples of the Xingqiu sect should die. The donor has gone too far. Xiao Jian glanced at Xuanan with disdain. Too lazy to talk to him. There's no point in arguing with him. Su Xinghe looked at Xiao Jian and nodded slightly. If nothing else, it can kill the old monster Xingqiu. Master and disciple Su Xinghe owed Xiao Jian a huge favor. It would be great if Xiao Jian could be made a disciple. What's more, Xiao Jian entered the Grand Master realm at a young age, so his talent is naturally top-notch. Definitely the best candidate to inherit the Xiaoyao sect. Therefore, Su Xinghe was very satisfied with Xiao Jian from the bottom of his heart. If Wu Yazi hadn't asked those who cracked the Junlong chess game to see him, Su Xinghe would have wanted Xiao Jian to pass directly. Xiao Jian glanced at the chessboard, shook his head, and walked aside. He knew nothing about chess. It's better to wait for someone else to crack it, and then he can just take advantage of it. What's more, those who go in have to lose all their skills and become a member of the Xiaoyao sect. Young hero, why don't you talk for a while? Su Xinghe spoke, startling everyone. Su Xinghe has always presented himself as a deaf mute. Who would have thought he could actually talk? Xiao Jian shook his head. I don't know how to play chess. You can play by yourself. After saying that, Su Xinghe ignored the sigh and stood aside to watch the excitement. Everyone gnashed their teeth. They even had to scramble to get the upper hand. Many people are fighting openly and secretly for this reason. Old monster Xingqiu even risked his life in it. As a result, Xiao Jian refused to go even if he was asked. It's really annoying to compare people to each other. Jiamoji dodged and appeared in front of the chessboard. Almsgiver Xiao won't come to an end, then I'll let the young monk teach me. After saying that, Jiamoji waved his hand, and a chess piece flew onto the chessboard. Su Xinghe didn't show any weakness, and the two of them started going back and forth. But as more and more chess pieces were played, Jiamoji's speed of placing pieces became slower and slower. Staring at the chessboard, his mind fell into an illusion. The aura throughout his body fluctuated, and bursts of internal force fluctuations spread. It's like he's possessed. What's going on here? There's something wrong with the chess game, it's definitely not that simple. It seems that this Tubo monk can't do it either. Everyone couldn't understand the mystery and gloated at the misfortune. Feel the power of heaven and earth gathering on the chessboard. Xuanan and Shang Wenshan had a look of shock on their faces. Uncle Master, what's going on? There was a disciple behind Xuanan who didn't understand and asked. Xuanan sighed. It seems that this master from Tibet is going to fail. Sure enough, as soon as Xuanan finished speaking, Jiamoji suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes looked frightened, and he spit out blood from his mouth. He hurriedly retreated. The sudden appearance of this scene made everyone afraid to try it casually. They looked at each other. Suddenly a hoarse voice came. Since none of you are willing to take action, let me ask you for advice. The person who came was none other than Duan Yanqing, the leader of the Four Evil Men. His face was ferocious, but his aura was so extraordinary that Xiao Jian couldn't help but take a look. Duan Yanqing walked to the chess game and started playing chess with Su Xinghe. Gradually, my mind was absorbed by the chess game. It was as if I was immersed in a fantasy and couldn't extricate myself. Then the same situation as Jiamoji appeared. The whole person was swaying, looking like he was about to collapse. Behind Xuanan, a young monk looked anxious and suddenly rushed out, dropping a chess piece at random. Duan Yanqing's mind quickly changed. What are you doing? Su Xinghe roared angrily at the young monk. It was a good linglong chess game, but someone actually came to make trouble. Is this Xu Zhu? Xiao Jian on the side raised the corners of his mouth. It seemed that it was his turn to harvest soon. Things went as he expected. Xu Zhu actually cracked the Zhenglong chess game with the help of Duan Yanqing. The moment he cracked it, Su Xinghe immediately sent Xu Zhu into the secret passage on the cliff. Shang Wenshan flew towards the secret passage, but he was blocked by Xuanan. To the donor, what are you doing? Shang Wenshan didn't bother to say anything to Xuanan and started to take action directly. The inheritance of a great master has been rare for decades. If he could get it, it might help him enter the Grand Master realm. A group of people started fighting instantly. Xiao Jian looked at this scene coldly. System notifications kept ringing in my mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the Xuanian Claw fragments and automatically understanding the Xuanian Claw. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the Zanyin Claw fragment, the martial arts experience value plus 20. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the Arhat Fist fragments and automatically comprehending the Arhat Fist. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the internal energy fragments, the internal energy value is plus 150. With Zan Nan blocking the way, Shang Wenshan had no way to rush in quickly. When he was anxious, he suddenly saw Xiao Jian standing aside and watching the excitement from the corner of his eye. His eyes lit up. He shouted loudly, Xiao Jian, you don't want Shaolin Temple to get the inheritance of the Grand Master, right? Why don't you do it yet? People from the Shaolin Temple and its affiliated sects tried their best to stop other people in the world who wanted to break into the secret passage. After all, the people receiving the inheritance inside are the disciples of their Shaolin Temple camp. At this time, other people in the martial arts world were trying their best to deal with the people from the Shaolin Temple. Unexpectedly, Duan Yanqing, the most evil person in the world, actually sided with the Shaolin Temple. Blocked Jiamoji. The people present were divided into two camps and all took action. Among the martial arts people of various sects, there are also several master-level masters. Although he is not at the peak level, his strength should not be underestimated. Even if the Shaolin Temple is powerful, it will be difficult to resist everyone for a while. At the critical moment, Su Xinghe revealed his master-level strength. Stand in front of the secret passage. As a result, all the masters at the master level were held back. Only Xiao Jian has not taken action yet. It can be said that whichever side Xiao Jian helps will definitely win. Shang Wenshan's shout made Xuan'an's heart sink. Under the siege of everyone, the Shaolin Temple could only barely hold on. If Xiao Jian really takes action, the consequences will be disastrous. Even if the Grand Master's inheritance is obtained, it cannot be preserved. Xiao Jian, you have to think clearly. My Shaolin Temple is not someone you can offend just by a Jinyi guard. If a war breaks out between the Shaolin Temple and the Ming Dynasty, you can't afford it. Xuan'an immediately moved out of the Shaolin Temple behind him, hoping to threaten Xiao Jian. The power of Shaolin Temple can be ranked among the top 3 in the Ming Dynasty. Even the Ming Dynasty did not dare to easily provoke a war with Shaolin. What's more, Shaolin in the world is one family. If the Ming Dynasty took action against the Shaolin Temple in the Ming Dynasty, would Shaolin temples in other countries lend a helping hand? For the Ming court, this was also an uncertain matter. When Shang Wenshan heard what Xuan'an said, he burst into laughter. Xuan'an, use the name of Shaolin Temple to scare the royal guards of the imperial court. You must be stupid by chanting sutras. Then he shouted to Xiao Jian. You have already killed a leader of the Shaolin Temple. This grudge cannot be resolved. If Shaolin gets the inheritance of a great master, you must also know the consequences. Xiao Jian's eyes flickered as he watched the two of them fighting and talking, but didn't make a move. Anyway, now they are fighting. The martial arts fragments kept falling, so he just had to stand and pick them up. As for what to do, Xiao Jian already had a plan in mind. He definitely needs Wu Yazi's Biming divine skill. In other words, he doesn't want to let go of the most amazing skills in the world. At the same time, it is best to let these Zhonghu sects attack each other. Thinking about it this way, it is more appropriate for the Grand Master's inheritance to fall into the Church of the Sun and Moon God. Shaolin will definitely not be willing to stop. When the two major forces fight, no matter what the final result is, it is a good thing for him and the court. Even if something happens, Xiao Jian will be able to raise the banner of the imperial court. Simply accomplishing multiple things with one stone. The two of them, Xuan'an, were still trying to undermine each other. Xiao Jian stood aside and watched the two perform. His eyes kept looking in all directions. I saw Su Xinghe fighting with two unknown masters. Although Su Xinghe was outnumbered, he could hold on for a while. It is enough to support Xu Zhu after receiving the inheritance. Duan Yanqing and Jiamoji were inseparable from each other. Both of them are great masters of the 9th level of Grand Master. It is only one step away from the peak realm. Under the all-out attack, the valley continued to roar. The only remaining masters are those from the Sun Moon sect and the Shaolin Temple camp. Several people are fighting against each other, and it is impossible to tell the winner in a short while. Only Xiao Jian, no one dared to come forward to provoke him. It is very conspicuous in the battlefield. This result is the best for Xuan'an. Xiao Jian didn't take action, even if everyone else did. Duan Yanqing and Su Xinghe helped. Shaolin Temple can also block it. Soon after, Xu Zhu emerged from the secret passage after accepting Wu Yazi's inheritance. The whole body's internal energy fluctuated, making everyone's eyelids jump. Feeling horrified, they stopped in unison, looking at Xu Zhu blankly. A look of disbelief. Grandmaster Realm, how is this possible? Shang Wenshan's eyes turned red. When I entered just now, I was still a monk with no talent. As a result, after accepting the inheritance, he immediately became a master. So how powerful is this inheritance? Shang Wenshan immediately made up his mind that the Sun and Moon sect must compete for the inheritance of this great master. Xuan'an's eyes flashed. The figure flashed and appeared in front of Xu Zhu. Protect it. This is the Grand Master realm that has accepted the inheritance. Given time, he may not be able to become a great master. Even in the Ming Shaolin Temple, there are only a few great masters. Shuzhu, what's going on? Xuan'an looked at Xu Zhu and asked. This is really incredible. Master Uncle, the senior inside has passed on all his inner strength to me, as well as a painting and a ring. Xu Zhu handed over a painting honestly. He also showed the ring on his hand to Zan Nan. What is this? The ring of the headmaster. Su Xinghei's eyes widened, and he staggered to Shu Zhu. Then he knelt down with a thump. Su Xinghei greets the headmaster. This scene made everyone's mouth twitch. A master knelt down like this. You must know that ordinary masters are guests of honor wherever they go. Not to mention kneeling. Hey, senior, get up quickly. Shu Zhu hurriedly helped him up and said, Senior, I can't take the position of the headmaster of Xiaoyao sect. He still wanted to go back to Shaolin to be his monk. He had no interest in the position of the headmaster. Shang Wenshan looked at Shu Zhu with murderous eyes. Suddenly he turned to Xiao Jian and said, Master Xiao, are you really going to give the inheritance of the Grand Master to Shaolin Temple? You let Shaolin Temple off today, but Shaolin Temple will not let you off in the future. Xiao Jian looked at Shu Zhu, and a hint of intention flashed in his eyes. Then he moved and disappeared instantly. Shu Zhu, be careful. Zan Nan's face changed drastically. He stretched out his hand to protect Shu Zhu behind him, and at the same time, his palm suddenly blasted forward. Shu Zhu now has a realm, but he does not have the strength to match the realm. He is definitely not Xiao Jian's opponent. So Zan Nan subconsciously protected Shu Zhu. Ah! A dragon roar sounded, waking everyone up. Xiao Jian was seen with a golden dragon shadow entwined on his body. He rushed straight towards Zan Nan with great momentum. Bang! After a loud noise, Zan Nan was knocked back more than 10 steps. He looked forward with an ugly face. Shu Zhu, who was protected by him, had already fallen into the hands of Xiao Jian on the opposite side. Shu Zhu was stunned. He was standing behind his uncle just now, how could he fall into the hands of the Jinyue? He struggled desperately. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the fragment of Beiming Divine Art and automatically comprehending Beiming Divine Art. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the fragment of internal force value plus 100. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up the fragment of Luohan Palm and automatically comprehending Luohan Palm. Xiao Jian pinched Shu Zhu's neck and sneered at Zan Nan on the opposite side. Everyone was stunned looking at Shu Zhu in Xiao Jian's hands. Zan Nan's face was so ugly that water was about to drip out. He was the head of Shaolin, a master at the peak of the Grandmaster level. Under his deliberate protection, Xiao Jian actually snatched Shu Zhu away. If it got out, where would he and Shaolin Temple put their faces? Xiao Jian, let him go quickly, or don't blame me for being rude. Zan Nan's face was livid, and he looked like he was gritting his teeth. Xiao Jian sneered, You're welcome. When has your Shaolin Temple ever been polite to me? When I was in Bili, I experienced the majesty of your Shaolin Temple. At that time, Zan Ku and many martial arts masters besieged him, but he was killed in return. It was after this battle that Xiao Jian became famous all over the world. You are so presumptuous, Zan Nan shouted. He rushed towards Xiao Jian quickly, trying to take Shu Zhu away by force. But just as he took a step forward, Xiao Jian's internal force was released. There was a creaking sound of bones in Shu Zhu's neck. It looked like he was about to be strangled to death. Zan Nan's footsteps stopped abruptly. Shang Wenshan saw this, and a gleam of brilliance flashed in his eyes. He never thought that in just a blink of an eye, Xiao Jian could actually snatch the person away under Zan Nan's nose. And let Zan Nan dare not move forward. It's incredible. However, Shu Zhu must fall into the hands of the Sun Moon sect. Xiao Jian raised the corner of his mouth and looked at Zan Nan jokingly. Zan Nan took a deep breath and said coldly, Xiao Jian, what do you want? Shu Zhu was in Xiao Jian's hands. Zan Nan could only surrender temporarily. But he had already sentenced Xiao Jian to death in his heart. As long as Shu Zhu was rescued, he must let Xiao Jian know that Shaolin Temple is not easy to mess with. How? I really don't know. Xiao Jian shook his head. You said that this Grandmaster inheritance seems to be useless to me. These words made the people present twitch. The Grandmaster inheritance they desperately wanted was dispensable in Xiao Jian's mouth. But think about it, Xiao Jian entered the Grandmaster realm at the age of 17. And the combat power is amazing. It doesn't seem to be difficult to break through the Grandmaster realm. Zan Nan is like eating a fly. A good inheritance is in hand, but the person is lost. If Xiao Jian really strangled him to death, they would suffer a great loss. Shang Wenshan's eyes lit up. Brother Xiao, if you don't want me, then I will. If you have any request, as long as the Sun Moon sect can do it, just ask. Xiao Jian glanced at Shang Wenxin and raised his mouth slightly. Finally couldn't help it. Shu Zu was indeed useless in his hands, but it would be interesting if he fell into Shang Wenxin's hands. How could Shaolin Temple watch the Grand Master's inheritance slip away from its hands? The Sun Moon sect would not give up easily. It would be strange if they didn't fight. Xiao Jian didn't care what the Sun Moon sect could give him. Gold, silver and treasures were useless to him. He had no shortage of martial arts secrets. But the show still had to be performed. He said lightly, that depends on what benefits your Sun Moon sect can give me. Shang Wenxin's eyes flashed with joy. My Sun Moon sect has gold, silver and treasures, and magic manuals. I'll give you whatever you want. Besides a few books of the sect's magic, as the left envoy, he had too many things to use. As long as the value was lower than the inheritance of the Grand Master, there was nothing that could not be exchanged. Zan Nan's eyes were about to burst into fire. What did Xiao Jian think of the Shaolin disciples? He actually started a business with the Sun Moon sect. You are looking for death. Zan Nan could no longer bear it. He attacked Shang Wenxin directly. Xiao Jian had Shu Zu in his hand, so he didn't dare to act rashly. But he had no scruples about attacking Shang Wenxin. Zan Nan was furious and attacked Shang Wenxin with all his strength. The two fought, causing both sides to fight again. Xiao Jian shook his head helplessly. People in the martial arts world have bad tempers. He could only pinch Shu Zu and find a secluded place to stand, picking up martial arts fragments by the way. As time went by, both sides suffered casualties. From time to time, someone screamed and fell down, and then there was no movement. There were fewer and fewer people fighting in the valley. Zan Nan and Shang Wenxin gradually woke up. Both sides stopped fighting again. They all looked at Xiao Jian with a bad look. If they couldn't see Xiao Jian's intention at this time, they would have lived in vain. Zan Nan glanced around and found that half of the Shaolin Temple disciples were lying on the ground without a sound. The situation on the Sun and Moon sect was similar. This made both of them a little angry. Zan Nan angrily shouted, Xiao Jian, you want us to both lose, aren't you too naive? Shaolin Temple and Sun Moon sect both have a life and death feud with Xiao Jian. But now they are being played around by Xiao Jian. What will people in the martial arts world think of them if it gets out? Xiao Jian sneered. It's not easy for you to figure it out so quickly. The two almost went berserk with that nagging expression. The people from Sun Moon sect and Shaolin Temple glared at Xiao Jian. They surrounded him. They looked like they were going to have a group fight. Xiao Jian narrowed his eyes. It's not easy to get them to fight now. However, there is a way. He threw Shu Zu in his hand to Shang Wenxin. Shu Zu instantly fell into Shang Wenxin's hands again. The corners of everyone's mouth twitched. This is an open conspiracy. A blatant open conspiracy. At this time, Shang Wenxin couldn't throw it or not. If he threw it to Shaolin Temple, they would have come in vain. So many disciples of the Sun and Moon sect died, which was equivalent to a death in vain. But if they want to take Shu Zu away, the Shaolin Temple will not be willing. It will inevitably be another big battle. Xiao Jian looked at the tangled Shang Wenxin and waved his hand. You go first, Zan Nan, I'll stop you. Shang Wenxin's eyes turned quickly. He understood Xiao Jian's purpose, but the temptation of the Grand Master's inheritance was too great. He was very tempted. Zan Nan's chest rose and fell violently, and he wanted to kill Xiao Jian immediately. He said coldly, Xiao Jian, you are looking for death by provoking Shaolin like this. The court can protect you for a while, but not for a lifetime. Xiao Jian never thought that the court could protect him. Zhonghu affairs, Zhonghu affairs. What happened between him and Shaolin was a grudge between Zhonghu and Zhonghu. So Shaolin Temple would not chase Xiao Jian with a big fanfare, that's enough. At most, Shaolin Temple would send out some masters. But if the Grand Master doesn't come out, who can do anything to him? Shang Wenxin's eyes turned, and he wanted to leave immediately, but was stopped by Zan Nan. It was difficult to escape for a while, so he could only confront Zan Nan. Xiao Jian stared at Zan Nan, with a sneer on his face. The wind god leg suddenly started, blasting towards Zan Nan and Shang Wenxin. The violent internal energy directly blasted a gully dozens of meters long between the two. The Shaolin disciples and the people of the Sun and Moon sect were forcibly separated. Xiao Jian walked calmly between Zan Nan and Xiong Wenshan, turned back and waved at Xiong Wenshan, indicated him to leave. Then he pointed to the gully on the ground and said to Zan Nan, "Those who cross the line will die." Xiao Jian's cold words made everyone present stunned. Whether it was Jiamoji or Duan Yanqing, including Ku Yang of the Sun and Moon sect and Zan Nan of Shaolin Temple. They all stared at the murderous Xiao Jian in a daze. They looked incredulous. They would not have any objection to Xiao Jian being the best of the younger generation. But the people present were all martial arts masters of the previous generation. As a result, Xiao Jian actually drew a warning mark on the ground so arrogantly. It took everyone a while to react. Zan Nan was the first to come back to his senses. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly, and he looked at Xiao Jian with extremely dangerous eyes. "Xiao Jian, don't think that I dare not kill you just because you are a Jinyue. Get out of my way." Facing Xiao Jian, Zan Nan was completely murderous. If Xiao Jian did not give in, he would definitely kill Xiao Jian. Even if he was held accountable by the court in the end. At most, he would just reprimand him. Xiao Jian looked calm, and his eyes looking at Zan Nan were faintly murderous. He had killed masters at the peak of the Grandmaster level, but he had already touched the threshold of the Grandmaster level. He had not fought against them yet. Such a peak Grandmaster could barely mobilize a trace of the power of heaven and earth. He could be called a half-step Grandmaster. I don't know if I can kill him with my full burst. Xiong Wenshan raised his eyebrows. He turned his head and signaled his men to slowly retreat. He left the battlefield to Xiao Jian. No matter who lived or died between Xiao Jian and Zan Nan, the Sun Moon sect would definitely not lose. He immediately led everyone to retreat. "Xiao Jian, you are looking for death." Seeing Xiong Wenshan running away with Xu Zhu, Zan Nan's eyes widened. He rushed towards Xiao Jian. At the same time, people from Shaolin Temple and its camp also rushed towards Xiao Jian. After all, Xu Zhu was still in Xiong Wenshan's hands. How could he let the people from the Sun and Moon sect take Xu Zhu away? A group of people were full of murderous intent and faced Xiao Jian directly. Xiao Jian looked at the people rushing up. He looked calm. With his palms flying, the golden dragon phantom began to entangle him. 1, 2, until 18 golden phantoms rushed out. As soon as Zan Nan arrived in front of Xiao Jian, he happened to encounter Xiao Jian's 18 dragon subduing palms. Zan Nan naturally knew how powerful it was. Originally, he wanted to avoid its edge, but behind him were the people from Shaolin Temple who rushed up. If he avoided it, the people behind him would probably have to die here. As a last resort, Zan Nan could only face it head-on. Boom! Xiao Jian seemed to be hit by a meteorite in the area of dozens of meters. A mushroom cloud rose. The huge impact shook the valley. It was as if the sky was falling and the earth was collapsing. After a long time, as the smoke and dust cleared, the figures of Xiao Jian and Zan Nan fell into everyone's sight. Xiao Jian was standing beside the gully he had drawn. Except for a little uneven breath, he had no injuries at all. On the other side, Zan Nan was covered in dust. Although there were no obvious injuries, the cassock on his body was torn into pieces by the internal force. It was obviously more embarrassed than Xiao Jian. Hiss! Xiong Wenshan turned around and saw this scene, and the muscles on his face twitched fiercely. He and Zan Nan were only on par at best. Looking at the two of them, if he faced Xiao Jian, the situation would be. Thinking of this, Xiong Wenshan had a murderous intent. He even had the urge to kill Xiao Jian with Zan Nan. He couldn't rest until Xiao Jian died. However, after looking at Xu Zhu in his hand, Xiong Wenshan forced himself to suppress the killing intent in his heart. He turned and left. With Xiao Jian, at least before returning to the Sun Moon sect, there is no need to worry about the threat from Shaolin Temple. Zan Nan watched Xiong Wenshan leave, knowing that Xiao Jian was blocking the way in front and he could not catch up. So he was not in a hurry to go over. The most important thing now is to kill Xiao Jian. He is only 17 years old, and he has such strength. If he is given a little more time, Shaolin Temple will have another great enemy. Waving his hand to let the Shaolin people around him retreat, Zan Nan slowly said, Master Xiao's strength is really admirable, but unfortunately, you shouldn't be an enemy of Shaolin Temple. Xiao Jian killed Zan Ku in Bili, and today Shaolin Temple lost the inheritance of the Grand Master. The grudge between him and Shaolin Temple is completely unresolved. Xiao Jian sneered repeatedly. When did I have a grudge against Shaolin? It was Shaolin that had always been against me. Otherwise, how do you explain why Zan Ku traveled thousands of miles to Bili to deal with me? Zan Nan chanted the Buddha's name. Junior brother went to Bili because of the matter of the inner demon, the struggle in the martial arts world, not against the donor Xiao. Tisk. Then isn't this a struggle in the martial arts world now? Xiao Jian sneered disdainfully. It's just that you lost. You said you were against Shaolin. You are so shameless. Shaolin Temple is powerful, and no one has ever dared to say that about Shaolin Temple. Not to mention being an enemy of Shaolin. Xiao Jian was the first one. For a moment, Zan Nan didn't know what to say. He could only close his eyes and remain silent, but his eyelids twitched, showing that his heart was extremely uneasy. After a long time, Zan Nan slowly opened his eyes and said lightly, since the donor has taken action, then Lao Na naturally can't let the donor look down on Shaolin and offend him. After speaking, Zan Nan put his hands together, and a faint golden light emanated from his back. It looks sacred and inviolable under the sun. This is the Prajna Zen palm of Shaolin Temple. Only when it is practiced to a very high level will the Buddha light appear behind it. Playing tricks, Xiao Jian muttered to himself. After a rough fight just now, Xiao Jian already had a general understanding of his own strength. If he didn't use the divine elephant prison power, Xiao Jian's combat power could be compared to the peak of the Grand Master. Compared to Zan Nan, even if it is slightly inferior, it is almost the same. There is no problem in self-protection. So Xiao Jian was not panicked at all at this time. He used the powerful Vajra palm in his hand to fight against Zan Nan's Prajna Zen palm. For a while, the fight between the two made the valley rumble. Both of them used the 72 unique skills of Shaolin Temple. For a while, they were evenly matched. This scene made everyone present freeze in their places. Jiamoji looked at Xiao Jian's figure, his eyes flashing. He had long coveted the 72 unique skills of Shaolin Temple. Unfortunately, except for the few that were circulated outside, the rest had never been found. Since Xiao Jian knew the powerful Vajra palm, I wonder if he knew the other 72 unique skills. Soon, Xiao Jian surprised him. While fighting, Xiao Jian picked up the martial arts fragments that fell from Xuanan. Prajna palm, bright fist. As long as Xuanan knew it, Xiao Jian would know it later. And he used it on the spot. Xuanan's face became darker and darker. He had used all the unique skills of Shaolin Temple that he had learned. But he found that Xiao Jian knew them all. And they were extremely authentic. It was not the incomplete version circulated in the martial arts world at all. For a moment, his mind was greatly shocked. After forcing Xiao Jian back several steps with one palm, Zan Nan shouted angrily, Xiao Jian, how many Shaolin skills do you know? Xiao Jian smiled slightly, and the words he said made his eyes dark. You know, I know better than you. Zan Nan's face darkened. Xiao Jian's words were too arrogant. But the fact is that Xiao Jian really knows the Shaolin skills. And they are all very authentic. It made Zan Nan almost vomit blood. Xiao Jian, you dare to steal my Shaolin skills. Zan Nan pointed at Xiao Jian with his finger, and his fingers trembled. This matter can be big or small. To put it in a big way, stealing other people's martial arts is a taboo in the martial arts world, and it will not end until death. To put it in a small way, this matter is just like that. Anyway, it's not the first day that the martial arts of Shaolin Temple have been spread out. There are countless martial arts spread out in the world. But most of them are incomplete. But Xiao Jian's is extremely authentic, which makes Zan Nan very shocked. Xiao Jian shook his sleeves. He said disdainfully, learn by stealing. You underestimate me too much, don't you? Besides, how many people in the world can use the Vajra palm? How many people can use the Arhat fist? Don't you know anything about Shaolin Temple? These two are the most widely spread martial arts in Shaolin Temple. Basically, everyone in the world knows these two moves. Zan Nan's face turned red after being confronted by Xiao Jian. How can they be the same? What is spread in the world is only one or two moves. But look at Xiao Jian, the Vajra palm has been practiced to the perfect level. If this is passed back to Shaolin Temple, it will be embarrassing. Just wait, Shaolin Temple will never let this matter go. Zan Nan could only say a harsh word, turned around and took the people from Shaolin Temple back. After a fight, he knew that he couldn't defeat Xiao Jian. Fortunately, he didn't have to waste that effort. The most important thing now is to rescue Shu Zhu as soon as possible. As for Xiao Jian's knowledge of Shaolin's unique skills, there will be a conclusion in the future. The people from Shaolin Temple left, but Jiamoji stayed. He bowed in front of Xiao Jian. Donor, I am Jiamoji, and I am very interested in your Shaolin's unique skills. I wonder if I can exchange martial arts secrets with you. Exchange martial arts secrets. Xiao Jian looked at Jiamoji and touched his chin. As the Tubo national teacher, Jiamoji knows a lot of martial arts. If there is any particularly good martial arts, there is really none. Except for a small wushang gong and the burning wood sword technique. But for Xiao Jian, these two martial arts are really useless. At this moment, an idea suddenly flashed in Xiao Jian's mind. Master, if you want my Shaolin unique skills, it's not impossible. I know a lot of Shaolin unique skills. If you want, you can exchange it with Shaolin's Yijinjing. Yijinjing. Zhu Mazi was shocked. Yijinjing is the treasure of Shaolin Temple. Everyone in the world knows it. There are only a few people in the whole Shaolin Temple who can practice Yijinjing. It is very difficult to get Yijinjing. Unless you can enter the Shaolin Temple Sutra Pavilion. Zhu Mazi's eyes flashed with desire. Xiao Jian continued. If you say the most profound Shaolin Temple's unique skills, there is nothing else besides this. Zhu Mazi pondered for a long time, and finally nodded. He also wanted Yijinjing very much. If he could get it, it would kill two birds with one stone. Master Xiao, then we're done. After leaving a word, Zhu Mazi discussed with Xiao Jian again and left. It seems that he really wanted to steal the secret book. Xiao Jian's mouth curled up slightly. Jiamoji finally came to this step. It can be regarded as a little trouble for Shaolin Temple. I wonder if the sweeping monk in the Sutra Library is still there. He is a top master, and perhaps he has entered the legendary land Immortal Realm. Xiao Jian's eyes flashed with a trace of solemnity. There are still many strong people in this world. Even if they don't come out often, it is not impossible to meet one occasionally. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.